now entering the Bass Galaxy.
This is Teal's Bass Galaxy. I'm your host. This podcast is about raw, real conversations with real awesome people about bass fishing, bass boats, and heck, there are no limits in the galaxy. Attention all Bastronauts. This podcast is supported by the Bass Galaxy's title sponsor, Waypoint Angler Supply, the Midwest's new landing pad for hardcore anglers just like you and me. If you're looking for the sneaky goods you can't find anywhere else, look no further. Waypoint Angler Supply has the largest offering of JDM tackle in the Midwest, and they are right here in Minnesota on Lake Minnetonka. This is truly a place every bass fisherman in Minnesota needs to visit because we finally have a tackle shop in the state that's as dreamy as the ones you find down south. And the staff at Waypoint Angler Supply understands the various needs of us anglers, which is why you'll find the selection there so enticing. Ross and the folks at Waypoint Angler Supply are passionate about carrying the right stuff, providing an authentic customer experience, and they listen to the anglers. And it doesn't end at JDM baits. They stock all the top U.S. brands, as well as local Minnesota brands like Veselka Fishing and Customs, Arsenal Fishing, Bait Lab Custom Swim Baits, All Terrain Tackle, Bagley Northland, Outcast Tackle, and more. So stop into their store on Lake Minnetonka or visit their website, waypointanglersupply.com. That's waypointanglersupply.com. Use the code GALAXY20 to save 20% on your next tackle binge. For today's episode, we've got the crew from Waypoint Angler Supply joining us. These guys, no, they don't work at Walmart. They are tackle experts and have years of experience. First, we've got the legend himself, Juicy Jay Carlson, who's got more tournament experience and success than the rest of us combined. The guy's won more boats than most would ever buy over their lifetime, and he never holds back the goods. Along with Juicy J, we've got the owner, CEO, and founder himself, Ross Kellermeier, who's turned dreams into reality over the past year with his new bass fishing wonderland, Waypoint Angler Supply, the new Mecca for bass fishing addicts like you and me. Joining those two is MLF media man, Waypoint employee, and swimbait enthusiast, Erik Gaffron, as well as a special feature from Waypoint Willy, also known as mothercluckin, Wilfred Charles III Jr. Enjoy. Hello, Bastronauts. This is a message of gratitude for myself, all your support that you've shown the Bass Galaxy and Teal's Bass Galaxy podcast, and just very grateful to all the guests and people who've tuned in so far. We want to keep this show rolling for all of you who keep tuning in. So it'd be great if you'd be willing to subscribe to our YouTube channel and support all the great sponsors that keep the Bass Galaxy rolling and ever expanding. And always open to feedback, but your support is greatly appreciated. So hit that subscribe button, check out our sponsors, and we look forward to bringing you even more intergalactic content. Thank you. Kind of honestly, what's the deal with these drift rides besides like Fujita winning Champlain on them?
Well, we have guys at the shop who got their hands on them because we got them, and they went out and did videos with them today, and we posted to our Facebook one of them. They're legit, like they move.
Sure. They got like a wobble to them. Like...
You got to have the right head though. You got to have the depths midst jig head.
Yeah.
So, did
we get those in today?
Did we bring his tackle?
Oh shit.
I think it's in my trunk. Oh, I don't know if it is though.
Hey, no
I don't
worries.
think so.
I-
I think it's hanging on the peg in the office.
It was on the desk in the office
I'm
last
pretty
week.
sure you grabbed it.
I think I grabbed it and put it in the trunk.
It's all right. We'll get it to him either
Yeah.
way.
It's honestly no problem. But that little mitts jig, it's
Yeah.
got.
I
like,
brought them for you if they're here.
Yeah. What it
I
reminds
love
me
you
of.
guys.
'Cause we were
That's
trying to-
wonderful.
We were trying to
Hey,
figure
we
out.
deliver long distances.
Yeah,
don't we?
yeah. Oh yeah, you all the time,
I know.
all the time.
Right
we
to
were
the dot.
we were busy trying to figure out how we were all going to get here because we were all going to drive separate at one point.
Yeah, it didn't make a lot of sense.
No. Well, I'm glad you guys carpooled.
Yeah,
And
me
thanks
too.
for joining us. We got
Good to
Jay
be
the
here.
legend. We got
This is cool.
the owner and CEO. We've got the man behind the lens.
What's your title? Say it.
Chief, is it
CIA.
okay?
And we got Willy.
And Willie's
I'm a
Willy's
I'm
our.
told I am a
he's our
chief-
tech guy.
industry
I like it.
advisor
We gotta have
because we
Willie.
wanted. So this is his doing, but he's called me the chief industry advisor, CIA.
Okay.
So I guess I'm like, you know.
Is that something made up? I never heard
He
of that
made
one.
it
have
up.
you?
I don't know. I feel like you have to like take an oath of some sort for that,
We gotta get
We're
you.
not going to talk about the details of the position.
We
Fair
gotta get
enough.
you a business card. That's what we need.
right?
We do need that, but that's besides the point.
We gotta talk to the boss.
How long has it been? 4 months. I haven't gotten you business cards yet.
You better talk to HR.
I'm starting to think he's lying to me about the position, but he still pays my checks every 2 weeks, so we're good.
You guys are golden.
At least you
guys are
get paid.
golden.
Brett doesn't even get paid.
Yeah, but he doesn't have a cool title either, so
That's just Brett.
We
we
have a
like
guy that
Brett a lot,
does.
though.
He does a lot of our social media posts and pictures, and whenever we need like an advertisement with text on it, he just makes it for us.
Oh, cool.
But he doesn't get paid, so it's awesome. It's perfect for us.
he
Price-
loves
The
it.
price is right.
Well, hey, that's perfect. Because how many employees do you have now?
So we've got 3 of us: Charlie, Koo, and Kylie, I believe.
And Willy.
Oh, and Willie. Yeah, he doesn't count. He's
Like
only on
7
2.
or 8. That's pretty good.
Willy's like one of the family.
Yeah, of course.
You know,
Yeah.
Yeah.
he works on Tuesdays.
We want him to work more, but you know,
He's too
Willie.
busy building websites.
I like Willy. He made the motherclucker. It's a
Oh,
great.
that's who ties
It's a
it.
great
Oh.
chicken.
All
Oh,
right. I
yeah.
gotta compare
Bring on the chicken.
cluckers with him at P break or something.
He's a mad clucker.
Absolutely. So, I mean, for people who don't maybe know, how long has Waypoint Angler Supply been open? Because it's still pretty fresh.
we tell people this every day. We open on April 29th.
Yeah, we'll
At
have
9
it
a.m.
committed to memory.
Stamp it.
Like, pretty much both of us.
So
That's-
4.5 months.
Yeah.
Give or take.
Right.
Yeah.
It feels like it's been.
2 weeks.
I think it's it feels like it's been 2 or
Yeah.
3 weeks.
If you hadn't gotten married and done all this other stuff, like honeymoon stuff, and then other people's weddings, like, it would probably feel more like 4 months.
Yep.
But if I'm gone, he and Jay are in the shop. If Jay's gone, he and I are in the shop. If he's gone, me and Jay are in the shop.
Yeah.
So the way it works is there's a constant rotation of guys coming in. So it's like a whirlwind. Like,
It's cool.
It
we all
works
get
out
along
good.
really, really good.
Yeah.
He's Ross. He was bound and determined to bring me on board, and I was coming anyway. Truthfully, he probably didn't have to pay me. We do have a lot of fun.
yeah.
Seems
It's-
like
it's
it.
a lot of fun.
I have a blast every time I come in there, and what I love about it is it's truly something special as far as a tackle shop that you can walk into, and the location seems to be just perfect right by Lake Minnetonka there. I guess, what kind of made you want to start this, Ross, and kind of what got you going with the tackle stuff? Because you've been in the tackle industry a while.
Well, it comes down to when I was in college. Unlike Eric, I actually paid attention.
Well, at least he went to college.
No, I mean whenever
There's some truth to all of that, but we'll get into that later.
I mean, anytime anybody ever asked me what I want to do, it was always, I want to be in the fishing industry. I want to do my own thing. And that kind of turned into, well, what is our state missing? And that was, to me, a high-end premier shop where you can get expert advice, hard to find, sought after, modern fishing tackle. I mean, that just, it didn't exist in our state to the extent that I think tournament guys like us need and want. Until, I mean, you go down south, and there's a lot of good business models down there. You can go, Lake the Ozarks, you can go to
Rayburn,
Toledo.
the one that Robinson owns at Rayburn,
Yep.
Tackle Addict. If you've ever been in there,
Sure.
if you've ever seen photos of it, it's incredible. And if Waypoint had the square footage, we'd be just like them.
Yeah.
They've got NFL money behind it because Brian Robinson owns the store, but
Sure.
it's probably triple our floor space, but it's the same stuff.
It was just filling a gap that nobody in Minnesota had catered to before,
Right. And you probably sold, between you and Jay, more tackle, and you've had more customer interactions than, most people in the state. So your experience in the tackle industry, to me, speaks volumes, and you can really see that when you walk into your store. It's very orderly, it's very, very tidy, it's very organized, and there is juice absolutely everywhere.
Oh yeah.
We think Jay has the record for most number of Twin Powers sold in 4 months.
That's accurate.
That's got to be.
You're not fishing if you don't have one.
What's a twin power for people who maybe don't know?
Shimano spinning reel.
Okay.
One of the best ones they make. It's an awesome reel.
What size spinning reel do you use? Like you 3,000, 4,000?
I throw a lot of 4,000s.
Okay.
But 2,500s, you don't need that much line if you're just fishing a jig worm or something. But if you want to throw small hair, marabous and stuff like that at 4,000, you'll get another 10, 20 yards on a cast, which is huge.
I agree with that. You get you a 4,000 size twin power, put it on a Veselka hair jig rod, and it's
you got the machine.
Right. So as far as like this gap, right, that we're talking about in the tackle market, because I can attest to that. It's tough because you want to go somewhere and you want to find and see cool stuff. That was obviously an issue you guys had seen in the past. I guess, where did you guys come from in the tackle industry? It was Cappers, right?
Yep, I worked at Cappers for, 5 or 6 years. Started out right after college. I left college and went right to there. That was my first job after college, and I stuck with it. I learned a lot of stuff from Dean there. An unbelievable amount of, how to run a business and also how not to run a business.
Sure.
Kind of both in the same, but it was a really, really, really good experience for me to learn from him, and he was real open with me, showing me his craft, how he deals with people, how he deals with just how to run a business, how to do orders. He taught me a lot. So
That's cool. Cool. So is it like walking into like your own fantasy world now? Like every day? Like you're stocking, you got all the stuff that, it's your own shop now, or is it a little more stressful than that?
I don't think there's any stress really. It's all fun.
That's awesome.
I dream about it at night when I go to bed. I dream that I'm stocking tackle on the shelves, and it's I can't get it out of my head.
I do
100% of the time. It's on my mind.
I do the same thing.
But
how are we going to go to the next step? How are we going to bring in ice fishing now? How are we going to make that all work? What new product? You go to the shop every day and something new hits me in the head every day. I'm old school.
Right.
These guys have taught me things. I can't even explain where I was and where I am now. And I tell you, I wish I was 35, 40 years old again, because with this new stuff out there, man, I'd be mean. I'd be really mean on the water.
That was a question I was going to ask you tonight, Jay, is like, you're kind of a legend in the tournament industry, especially the Minnesota tournament industry. And I'm sure you've developed like a lot of, old tricks that you have a really hard time putting down and maybe have just so much confidence in. I guess, what are some old tricks that have been tough to put down, and what are some new tricks that have like come about that have replaced them?
You know, I learned a lot from Ted Capra. Okay, Ted and I fished quite a bit. We fished against each other. We teamed up together, the whole shebang. But I lived on Prior Lake for a while, and I went fishing every single day. When I lived out there, when the DTs came out and the down deep Rapplers came out, I said, I'm going to learn this because it ain't never been seen. And I did a lot of tricks to it to make it work the way I needed it to work.
Yeah.
I was fishing with Mark Raveling at the time. We were kind of teamed up, and I figured out how to weight one of the DTs and have that thing suspend perfectly. And I mean, I would go get 15, 25, 50 Rappalas, and every single one was different. None of them were the same. DTs.
Which is known as, like, if you were to ask Joe Blow, he'd say, well, DT's a very consistent running bait anyway.
It might run, but the balsa was different in every single one of them.
Sure.
No question. So I weighted them. So when I got it to the bottom, I mean, I could take a DT 16 and I could get it to 22 feet of water. And it came with the line, the rod, and the weight. So if you ever take one out of the package and then this one, and pull them and see what they do, they're all different. Very rare you're going to have the right one or one that's going to do the same thing. So when you cranked it down, it always stopped and it would twirl backwards and go out. Every time when you stopped, it went backwards and it twisted.
So it would come down, you'd
go down,
stop it,
yep,
and it would do a full turn around.
No, when you stop reeling it, like you hit the bottom and you just stop reeling, it would go backwards and it would twist coming back up.
Unweighted one.
Unweighted.
Yeah,
correct.
Yeah.
So the fish never really had a chance to stare at it enough in my eyes.
Yep.
So I weighted them. So when I came down and hit the bottom, I stopped reeling. It would sit like this, and I would make it have a slow rise.
Sure.
Really slow rise, perfectly level. So when a fish came to eat a DT, the lure was always like this. So they're eating this.
Yeah,
When
yeah.
I leveled it, now the fish was eating this. So my hookups were almost 100%.
Sure. So instead of having to try to eat that bait the long way, now you're feeding it a hot dog like a fish is born to eat a hot dog.
And it would suspend right in their face. Cool. And when I figured that thing out, dude, I won everything. Prior Lake, I'm sure those guys were glad when I left because I was winning everything on that crankbait. I gave it to Mark. I says, I just want a boat on it. I gave him the same lure. For the next week, he went to Tonga, won a boat on it.
Damn.
His big mistake was he took it to the camera and went, yeah, here's what I was using. I'm like, oh, man.
But did he show him the weight?
He showed him everything. He showed him the lure.
Well, but how did people probably didn't know how to replicate that, right?
No. I had a couple of guys did it because I would lose a few that would break off or something else. And look what I found on shore. Is this one of yours? And I saw that quite a bit. But,
And you'd be like, yep.
yeah.
Because I suppose you lose them more since they don't float up.
Yeah, well, can I have it back? And no, I never got them back.
How long would it take you to wait? How long does it take you to weight one?
Depends on the lift on it,
Yeah.
how quick they rise. But I just had a big, huge tank. I'd weight them. I'd bring them down the water and see if they suspend or if they'd come up. It wouldn't take long. It
Sure.
wouldn't take real long.
What's your thoughts on like water temperature with that? Does that change that
No.
a whole lot? I mean,
No.
you're typically throwing a DT in, I suppose, warmer water, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much. But
Yeah.
no, water temp didn't seem to matter.
Sure.
I've noticed some things about Jay. We worked together for, I don't know, 4 years at least now.
Yeah.
And we started fishing together, and he was always throwing a football jig,
Love that bait.
a crankbait,
Yep.
and he tinkered with that kind of stuff. Before we opened and we got Jay signed up, he came into the shop when we were putting up the JDM wall,
Yep.
and he looks at this wall and he goes, "What are we going to do with all this?" He's nobody's going to buy that. I'm not going to buy that. I'm not going to fish that. But I don't know.
I got to give credit to Charlie and those guys.
Yep.
They're Asian, all right? They fished it all the time. They taught me.
Yep.
They showed me. They said, here's what we're doing, and I would go out and try and replicate it.
Yeah.
So it came down to, like he was saying, a roller jig. The first rod in my hand is a roller jig. Pretty much anywhere I go.
Fuck yeah.
Okay? But then I started throwing this thing, and it kind of was the same as a roller jig, but in a different form.
Yeah.
So I'm not dragging it in the rocks. It's actually swimming on the rocks. And you still tap them. Kind of the same thing, but a whole different look.
Jay's first experience with a JDM lure it was fishing opener weekend at the shop. So 2 weeks after we opened, got his first JDM lure. It was the Iamakatsu Waddle Bats, black crankbait with a blade on the
Bought
bottom.
one after he threw it for the first time.
Yeah.
So
It's true.
it's fishing opener
Remember
weekend,
that.
and Jay goes off the brewery dock and says, "I'm going to throw this thing. I need to see what this thing does." First cast, he catches a 2.5 pounder.
I'm like,
So
oh,
that
I'm
got
done.
him thinking. He's like, God, these things might work. Now he fished with Jay. He's fishing a bellows gill. He's got a super secret way he rigs that thing up. He's fishing a raid 2-way.
What?
He's tinkering with those. He's ripping them in half. He's dyeing the tails.
Love it.
Drop shotting, which I never do.
Jay doesn't drop
He
shot.
he has a complete hatred for drop shot.
And docks. I don't like docks either.
You and I.
Yeah.
Jay's got
similar
more,
on that.
I think Jay, I looked in his boat. We were out the other day. He's got more JDM stuff in his boat than I do, for sure.
Oh, it's pretty crazy.
We converted him.
Wow. Welcome to the
got
21st
it.
century, Jay.
the G crack. There's a tattoo going right about here. It says G crack.
Yeah, you getting
Yeah.
a big bellows gill over your nipple?
100%.
Hell yeah.
That's the eyeball right there.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I'm
You don't have to wear a shirt if you got bellows gills on your nipples.
dude. I've caught some pretty awesome fish on that.
And that's
gill.
crazy. So you guys seem to have that deal figured out, which I'll be honest, I tear those things up. So I'm curious how you rig that bellows gill. I gotta imagine I'm screwing up not using a screw lock hook with that lure.
You're 100%.
Yeah.
I've tried it without, and you just rip the bait.
Yeah, it's brutal.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that bellows gill swimmer has become one of my favorites for reeling, and that on an owner beast hook is screw lock. I can catch like 15 to 20 bass a lure on that thing. But so you don't need to give up the goods on how you rig.
You
your
can tell,
bellows.
Jay.
Don't matter. You still got to catch them.
That's a fact.
I'll tell you straight up where I caught them on what. You still got to catch them. I don't care.
That's a
People
fact.
always think I bullshit. Sure, we're fishermen, but I'll bet you 90% of the time I tell you the truth.
That's a fact.
And
Yeah.
people like, nah, no, he doesn't. And you're right. Whatever. You still got to catch them.
That's
I'd
a
rather
fact.
I'd rather
Yeah.
cheat you than hide it from you.
I've noticed that with you when I've come into the shop, even the old store. You're always willing to help, and you're always very in depth about it. And that's one thing I just love coming to your guys' store, because you can talk fishing, you can really, understand what you're buying if you're not sure what you're getting. I mean, obviously, he's using all them JDM baits, so he understands when somebody asks him what that bait's going to do, why it's going to do that, when it's going to be maybe a better choice, and that's why you've got such an asset for a team.
Well,
But-
people have noticed we don't want you in and out in 5 minutes.
Right.
We want you to come sit at. We have 6 stools up at the dock.
Yep.
That we have locals and guys that are there every single day. They come in, they hang out, and they spend 3 hours there talking fishing. And every 20 minutes they'll get up, because Jay will be talking about the bellows gill or the raid or whatever he's talking about. They'll get up every 20 minutes and put someone else down on the dock. Go sit back down.
Yeah, the
well, then
amount
we'll
of bar stool sales is insane.
Oh yeah, it's
I mean,
crazy.
Literally,
We
I
got
can- yeah.
we got a little fish tank that we can display,
That's genius.
and
we've worked so
It's-
many guys up from like $50 bags of plastics
Yeah.
and stuff to like all of a sudden they're at $200.
Yeah.
you guys
you-
have like demo bags of plastics then now? That
we got
go,
little
like,
tackle boxes
on a
Jay has
ice rod.
Jay
or
has a
something?
tackle box just for the tank.
just for the tank.
Wonderful.
So then, I'll show them. I says, you look at it in the tank and they're like, that is sick. They gotta eat that thing. I go, well, hell yeah, they're gonna eat it. Otherwise, I wouldn't show it to you.
Right.
They go get 4 bags.
Free seminars from Jay at Waypoint.
Yeah.
Can you,
All day, every day.
I just like want to explain the fact of how cool that is as a bass fisherman, being able to walk into a tackle shop and see a lure in the water and how it's going to act. I mean, there's no smoke and mirrors with that.
No,
That's
no.
some good stuff.
You just gotta have the right people to show you the right way.
Right.
Or I wouldn't say it's the right way. There's this day in that way, but my way.
Right.
This is how it worked for me.
Right.
Might be different for other people, but this is what worked for me.
So what's the key to this bellows gill and how you rig it?
Well, the right hook for sure.
Okay.
We kind of learned that a weighted 4-aught hook works the best on the 3/8
Sure.
bellows with the screw lock.
Sure.
1/8 ounce, I think, right?
1/8 ounce.
Slower
I
fall.
have gone heavier a little bit in the deeper water.
Sure.
But the 1/8 seems to be the one. It just falls right. And people go, it takes forever to get to the bottom. Where if you watch it on live scope, it doesn't take that long.
Right.
And you can watch it flutter. I mean, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But at first I was rigging the hook wrong. I was burying the hook on top and make it weedless. Well, I was missing 50-60% of my fish. They jump off or I never get a hook in them. Well, then I talked to Charlie, another one that works with us, and he says, oh, you're putting it in too deep. I think it was Charlie. It was one of the two. But anyway, so I started putting it on top. Do it. It's 100% hookup now, and they will not drop it. I have opened the bail and let line out, and they still got it because I'm pre-fishing for a tournament, and someone's sitting over there, and I'm like, oh, you won't let it go. So finally, I'm like, oh, I reel it in, and it's gone, completely gone, swallowed. I had to cut the line. So they won't drop it.
Dang.
Yeah, it's a crazy lure.
You throwing that?
I don't throw nearly as much as Jay does. I have other sneaky stuff I throw. What do I throw? What do I tell you about all day?
Am I allowed to talk
Yeah.
about these things? I mean, you really like the Spyron Twin. About
Yeah,
every
Spyron
third
Twin
customer
is
that
that-
comes in, he's like, hey, have you tried that Spyron
Yeah.
Twin?
That G-Crack
Like,
Spyron
all the
Twin would be
time.
my number one. for
Really?
Sure.
Time.
Over like the regular Spyron.
Yes.
You just Texas rig it or?
Texas rig it, but I think,
That's when we put on a roller, right?
yeah,
Yeah,
I find it's
we destroyed them on
I
it.
think it's the best roller jig trailer out there
Really?
by far. Bigger profile, tons of movement. It only catches big fish.
Cool.
It's good. It's not number one, but it's
It's
pretty
number
close.
one.
What's your roller
number
jig
one.
trailer?
Me?
Yeah.
Chompers, twin tail.
I'm a Yamamoto twin tail guy. I don't know.
Yeah, the Automoto was fine, but they last one fish and they rip off. You get the Chompers twin tail that doesn't have the skirt, just the twin tail. It's got a fatter body
Yep.
all day long.
Huh.
All day. I order probably 35 bags a year. That's all I throw.
And see that Yama twin tail, like when you slow pull it, it just goes. I'm the crawfish.
So does the Chompers.
I gotta try those.
Yeah.
Okay. That Spyron twin, I might gotta
Yeah,
try
that Spyron
thing.
twin's pretty
That sounds-
cool.
I like big bites.
It's a big. Any of
catch a
that
big
G-Crack is big fish.
What?
You like catching big fish?
No, I hate it.
Oh,
yeah,
rough.
love it.
Rough.
Dude.
I don't know what that's like. It's a lot of fun when you catch one of
What do you
them.
throw on a footer? On a pig skin.
You're a swim bait guy. You've been throwing that big swim
No,
bait.
no, he said on a football jig.
Oh, football jig.
I had to teach him football jig a little bit better.
I don't
He-
think
he-
Eric knows
he
how to throw a
thinks
football
I can't
jig.
throw a football jig.
Well, I've
but
never
I
seen
don't
you
throw
throw
a
one.
No, I don't throw a football jig the way he throws a football jig. I throw finesse football jigs. He throws big football jigs.
That was last Tuesday.
Like all my football jigs are like. I don't want
Yeah.
to say these out loud, but I'm going to. The Kitech football jig and the Arsenal champion,
Oh, the little baby.
the champion football jig.
Mm-hmm.
That's the juice. But we've had this discussion. Our setups are completely different. He throws his on a 710 with like a braid to a fluoro.
7-Eleven.
Exactly.
Braid to fluoro on your football?
Yep.
I had a
Straight
flipping
braid, I
stick.
thought.
If I'm in clean, if I'm in
Sure.
like rock, I'll throw 25 fluoro.
Sure.
Then I can snap it out.
So
Got it.
I throw my football jig. I'm throwing like a 7.3 heavy with an 8-1 in like a 15 to 17 pound fluoro. Like how they fish ledges down south.
Yeah.
It's just personal preference. So
I'm more on that program, but
he bends out all the hooks that I use. We've talked
Yeah,
about this
yeah,
at the
yeah,
shop
yeah,
over
yeah.
and over
Yeah.
again, and we finally came to an understanding that what works
Jay's
for him.
stronger than you.
Yeah, Jay's just stronger than me. That's what it is.
yeah,
He's
it's called
buffer.
thunder
It's-
and lightning.
Well, I didn't get that.
Probably
so-
Same, dude.
Stinky
Same.
and winky,
Same.
maybe.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, I got some stinky and winky right here.
As far as the trailer though, probably Berkeley Chigger Craws or. And
He's
see,
fired.
like I already got him shaking heads.
I'm shaking. Dude, that's
You know, but it works, right?
It works on any jig.
Berkeley
probably.
Chigger Craw
Chig-
works good.
Staple.
If we're talking JDM, the Depths bar boot.
Oh, okay. See, that's the one you weren't supposed to talk about.
Oh, that's the one I'm not supposed to talk about.
We
You
need
just
to cut?
named your guys'
We can
favorite
cut?
things.
You sure?
He's just
He's
just messing with
he's
me.
just messing.
We can cut.
No, we have a GoPro shot of him. We were on Tonka, and I think I was throwing heavy poop that day.
Yeah, you were throwing the poo.
And I caught a few.
On the poop.
Poop is a whole nother story.
Oh, that's such a good thing.
So you're throwing the poop.
I was throwing the poop, and he was throwing you were throwing a fighter jig with
That one was a fighter jig.
with a
but-
bar boot, right?
Yeah, with the bar boot.
He caught 4 in a row on 4 casts,
Yeah.
and we got it on film.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool.
It's going to be a great GoPro clip if I ever get to see it.
Lucky.
Do we have it? Or did it get disappeared?
I can't guarantee
It got disappeared.
it's somewhere.
It's somewhere.
It's in my boat somewhere.
Oh, you didn't even take it out of the boat?
No.
Jay sold me some poop one time, and I actually caught him on it pretty good.
Ain't that some shit?
Ain't that some shit?
I tell you what, who said poop isn't good?
What? I mean, I
was
noticed
with
a
you when
lot of that on your guys' shelves.
I was with you when I lost my poop virginity with you.
Yep. You, me, and Dale. We took Dale, out to
was there
fix.
too?
Yeah,
We fixed his 360 wasn't working, and the magic man over here did something to it. And I'll tell you what, it was the best pictured 360 I ever seen in my life, and we whacked him that day. And he was throwing poop, and I was throwing the 2-way,
Yep.
smashing him, just smashing him. And poor Dale's in the back going, "Hey, this is my boat." We left him in the back. Sorry, Dale.
Jay and I were up front in Dale's boat, and Dale got the back of the boat.
Yeah.
How'd that work?
I don't know. He caught one fish though, but it was a giant.
What's
It really
the deal
was.
with the poop? Throwing poop.
It's such an awesome bite.
And
I
it's
just love it.
so weird.
I love it so
I haven't
much.
thrown it.
Haven't you?
Because we keep talking about it, and then every time I'm going to go to, do it,
We throw the
I'm
poop.
with him, and he's doing it, and it's like, I don't want to
Everyone's doing.
I don't want to
throwing the
copy
poop.
him, you know? He's like, I'm going to try this JDM lure. I'm like, well, then I guess I'm going to try something else.
Yep.
Well, he always picks either, the cover scap or one of the Depths ones or, Yamatanukis. He's
Picks
like,
up the poop.
That's the one. And I'm like, well, I guess I don't get to throw that today.
We've been throwing poop the last 3 weeks pretty
yeah.
hard.
3 weeks to a
We
month.
wanted to figure it out, and we figured it out.
What'd you figure out?
They
The
eat
right hook.
Right hook.
The bite is so weird though. A lot of the bites they just push it to you,
Yep.
or everything just
Come right at you.
everything's like there's nothing there. And once you get it in your brain, go, oh, he's swimming at me. Yeah, you pour the coals to him. You know. That's the only weird thing. It's a really weird bite.
Right. And
But
how
it's
shallow-
it's down their throat every time, though.
Yeah.
Every time.
Yeah, like a big stogie. Yeah, just. Yeah,
But
got a big stogie coming out of their throat.
I prefer the Fish Arrow heavy poop in a 3.6 or the Depths cover scat in the 3.5.
Okay.
So-
Okay.
I'm not a big fan of the Yamatanukis or the what's another one?
I don't know. There's 2 or 3.
I'm
that are
not
about
a
to
big
come
fan of
out.
the Yamatanuki.
What about the G Crack? Doesn't
one's-
G Crack make one with a skirt?
Yep, so that's the Emo Kamushi.
Yeah,
So they have
Emo
an Emo
Kamushi.
Kamushi and an Emo Ripper. We've got both of those.
Can't say you're not a fan of it. We haven't really thrown it yet.
The
I mean,
emo
we haven't
com-
really gave it a shot.
The Emo Kamushi is a little different too, because the heavy poop when it falls, it's a little more like a thud when it
Yep,
lands.
it thuds.
Yeah,
when
for sure.
when you pop an Emo Kamushi, it kind of floats, and I've got GoPro.
floats
more
and
of a
flutters,
floater?
Yeah.
Yeah,
World champion barbecue born in the pits of Memphis, Tennessee, family owned and located just north here in Minnesota. Just north of Memphis, barbecue, ladies and gentlemen. One look at their trophy room and one taste of their barbecue is all it takes to know it's the very best. But the J&O story runs much deeper than that, and bringing people together, whether it's friends, family, or fishing buddies, with some mouth-watering smoked barbecue, that's what they're all about, which is about as American as it gets. If you smoke meat, if you like to grill meat, if you like to cook meat, you need to try the J&O Memphis Dry Rub Seasoning, which will enhance your barbecue game instantaneously. Also, voted world's best sauce in 2022. You can bring this right to your kitchen table. They've got 3 flavors, and each one is better than anything you'll find in the supermarket. Let's take things up a notch this summer. You can order their dry rub and world-famous barbecue sauce right on their website. Visit jnomemphis.com. That's jnomemphis.com. Or visit their Facebook page for food truck locations and schedule. Barbecue.
I'm Johnny B with Just North of Memphis Barbecue, and I approve this message.
Hey guys, Ross, owner here at Waypoint Angler Supply. We're super excited to have opened a premier fishing store here right on the shores of Lake Minnetonka. I've fished here all my life, fished a bunch of the local tournaments, and just totally fell in love with this lake in particular. It's always been a dream of mine to have a tackle store on the lake, and we're super lucky to be on Lake Minnetonka here. We've got certain offerings here that you really can't find anywhere else in the state, and a lot of it you can't find nationally. We hope you're as excited as we are that we're going to be offering boat ramp delivery right here on the lake to Spring Park, Maxwell, and North Arm ramps. To order tackle for boat ramp delivery, all you have to do is give us a call here at the store or head to our website, and we're going to meet you at one of our 3 meeting points. Swing on into the shop here on Lake Minnetonka. Come see us. We love to talk fishing. We love to get feedback. We'll do anything we can so that you guys can have the most success out on the water.
Yeah,
That's a great bait.
I actually think, did I post one of those videos?
We
the
did a
other
video
day?
the other day on that, yeah.
So if people go on our Instagram, they can see it. There is a tank video from our tank of the Emo Kamushi, and you can see it. It just pops up, and it's like it hits a ceiling, and then it just falls.
More of a suspending poop.
Yep.
Yeah,
and the Emo Ripper does the same thing, just doesn't have the skirt.
It darts really aggressively when you pull it off the bottom.
Yeah.
Sure.
So
It's just at least the cover scat and the fish arrow heavy poop, it's such a do nothing. I mean, I was when I was first throwing it, I was out there trying to hop it like a crawfish, and I was like just not catching anything. So then I was at Jay.
Yeah.
And I threw it out there and let it sit for, I don't know,
You go on your phone to the shop.
Yep.
And all of a sudden, the lines.
Checking the sales reports at the shop.
Yeah.
And
Four
that
and a half
initial
pounder.
fall is kind of key, like
Yes.
a Senko, or
It's when it hits the
when
bottom.
it sits there, you can't fish it too fast.
sure.
And I started doing the same thing. I switched with him. I took the poop, and he took the 2-way, and I threw it out there. I go, I just gotta let it lay, and all of a sudden it's just weightless.
Yep.
You can feel it, and all of a sudden it's just nothing there. And I mean, you just rear back and cross your eyes, and you're like, holy shit, this is cool.
Boy,
It is kind of.
That sure
like a
does
Senko.
sound fun. I might have to try that now.
Yeah.
This was out in 20 feet of water.
Yeah.
Do you guys have a favorite color of poop that you like the best?
Black.
I would say black or
Watermelon.
I like the Scuppernong a lot.
I like
That's
green
a good
poop.
color.
The green poop you sold me was really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you fish that in the last tournament you were in at all?
I did. I caught pike on it.
Yeah.
I don't know what changed from practice to tournament day besides it's Champions Tour, so I probably wasn't fishing it slow enough.
Yeah.
Smallmouth eat it too, I found out.
I saw that in some pictures.
They really, really like
Yeah.
it.
You ran out of bait.
Had to have
that.
Jay overnight me some.
So is there like a
If only you knew where to get more, right?
so between like the fish arrow and the depths cover scat, is there a dramatic difference between those two and what they do in the water, or are they kind of like
They're-
copies of each other?
They're similar, but the fish arrow, if you're really, because I don't know that the cover scat really replicates anything. It doesn't have claws. The fish arrow's got crawfish pinchers on the back of it, so it looks more realistic.
More
but-
like a crayfish.
Yep.
That's what you're imitating.
the-
is a crayfish with this thing.
Sure.
The cover scat has a much more dense back end to it.
Yeah. There's no wiggle.
No.
It's just a stump laying
Yep.
there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's got more of a bulbous tail, so
Yep.
to speak, and yeah, you kind of like let it sit and walk it, right?
Yeah.
Side to
Yeah, you
side.
can give it a twitch, and she might go this way or that way or roll. But
And that's kind of
It's just-
that'll trigger bites if you're not getting them on that initial drop, basically.
yeah. But Tonka's Minnetonka. You got to fish everything almost dead stick it, slow.
Right.
I mean, that's just Tonka's tough right now. For me anyway. Not for some people. You need a little hit.
Yeah, I'll do a little nip, a little bump.
Little mama's milk.
Anybody need anything out the cooler?
I'm good, thank you.
We should talk about swim baits.
We can talk about swim baits. That's fine.
He's got a thing about swim baits.
It was on my list, and I usually don't keep lists, but
He's
that
our
was on
in-house swim bait expert.
That
Yeah.
my
That's
questions
a
for
real
Eric
generous
tonight were
statement.
100% swim bait driven, and I have
Yeah.
so many questions for all of you guys.
I'm
but
out of this one. I'm gonna.
you don't.
I don't know much. I
figured you'd haven't waited like
I can fake
get
it
the
well.
falls right.
Well, I no.
Give it a year.
Yeah, I'll figure it out.
Once you get bored with the poop,
I got a bigger tank.
right? So, I did notice that you guys, you've got JDM baits, you got local baits, you got U.S. brands, but specifically when you walk into Waypoint Angler Supply, there's some big honkers in there. Glide baits.
That might be by design.
HUDs.
I mean, we've talked about this extensively amongst the shop, evidently, but there are two trends in the industry, and there's no secret about them. Besides the forward-facing sonar stuff for tournament fishing,
CIA exclusive right
this,
here.
this is a whole. We're not gonna get into forward-facing stuff right this second. We can later if we want, but there's the micro stuff. BFS, bait finesse, all that type of stuff. Half the JDM stuff is either the tiniest crap I've ever seen on a shelf and could be sold as crappie lures to most people, or it's the biggest thing I've ever thrown. Like glide baits, all the Gancraft stuff, half the depth stuff is gigantic. It's just, that was the way the industry was going.
Smaller or bigger.
Yep.
Got it.
What I said when I got involved with the company to Ross was, all right, if you're gonna do this, sure, we need our tournament staples and we need all that stuff. And it sounds like you're already doing the JDM stuff. I'm like, but then you got to still do all the big stuff, because as much as people are gonna sit here and tell you they don't eat it, there's still a bunch of guys that know the truth and that they're gonna eat it, and they'll come in and they'll buy the big stuff.
What's your catchphrase? You have a catchphrase about this. I know what it is. Say it.
Well, they don't have mirrors. Fish don't have any frame of reference of how big they are. They don't get to look in the mirror and go, I'm X amount of inches tall. They look at a lure out there in the water and they go, well, that looks like it could fit in my stomach. Now that fish might be this long, but if he sees the lure, he's going to attack the lure, right? So my logic has always been, if they think they can eat it, they'll eat it. Now, whether they can or not, that's a whole different can of worms. But if you're trying to catch the biggest fish in the lake, you're probably trying to get something that looks like he wants it to eat, be his steak dinner.
Throw him a big meal.
So I told him when I got involved, I was like, Ross, I want to help, pick out some swim baits. We brought in Huddleston. Whenever we do a JDM order, we look at all the swim baits and I go, those look good. These look good.
Then other people bring in Huddleston.
We're not going to get into that. Let's just say that apparently we're trendsetters, and other people have taken notice and decided that they like what we do. So,
I've noticed that with a few things.
yeah, there's probably about 15, 20 things on that list at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Everything from...
It's flattering.
It's very flattering, because it means everything from social media to specific products to, how we go about doing our marketing, contests, giveaways. We started seeing an uptick in that from some of the other area stores, and you know what? Competition's good, right?
Yeah.
I say one thing.
Yeah.
You still have to have the right person sell it. And,
Yeah,
and
100%.
show you how to use it and tell you how to use it.
I agree with that.
You can throw it on a shelf and say, "Hey, we got the latest and greatest." Well, how's it work? Dead silence.
Well, and those big baits, I'll speak from experience, they're intimidating.
They are.
So, for me to walk in and buy a big bait, I don't totally know what it's going to do. You guys have heard me ask you questions about those glide baits, those Huddlestons and whatnot, and I guess there is a lot more to them. They're their own kind of niche.
That Huddleston's
that way.
pretty damn cool in the water too.
Oh
Yeah.
gosh, I mean the different tails you can get on swim baits, but what's been the best selling big swim bait for you guys?
I'd say it's got to be the depths slide swimmers or the Gaffron jointed claws in various sizes, because some guys will go ahead and get like the 200 millimeter ones, and some guys only want a 135, and some guys we got
the 115.
We got those 70
and
jointed
70,
claws too.
yeah.
They're like this big.
So millimeters, that's what,
Like
6 inches?
Oh, there's a 70, which is like
You got some.
it's like 3 inches, right?
yeah, that's those the 70. I think it's
It's like
70.
3 inches. Yeah.
It's like this big. It's like smallmouth candy.
Sure.
And it's baby, it's a baby glide bait. So it's the same exact body, just downsized from one of those big glide baits.
I didn't think about them
Throw it
little
on a
glides for
BFS or
smallmouth,
a
dude.
spinning
I
pole.
really didn't think about them little glides for smallmouth, but I love fluking for
It's the same
smallmouth.
concept,
And
you know?
it is a more realistic. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Got more hooks.
And see, it's funny because I've been in the shop and I've looked at them, and we can only talk about so much and do so much. 'Cause
Yeah.
you guys are always busy, which is awesome when I go in there. But I never thought of them little baby glide baits as, man,
So the first thing out of my mouth when Ross showed me those was,
that's dangerous.
do smallmouth eat that? And he goes, oh yeah. And if Ross goes and gives you that look, you know that it's a big time fish catcher. He can't hide it. So
Man, Daddy needs to open his wallet for some of those for sure.
they're a little spendy, but like
They're $30.
$30 for a little glide
Yeah.
bait, or you pay $25 for a Vision 110 at any retailer that has it. So like, you want to throw a jerk bait, or you want to try something they've never seen before.
Well, and as far as pike are concerned, there's only a few lakes where that seems to play when you're talking smallmouth. It seems like largemouth, when you get
run
around the
that
grass
issue a
more,
lot.
you run into a lot more pike. But, I mean, smallmouth for pike, I mean, Pokegama would be a lake I could think of. I lost like 4 spy baits in one day to pike. Rush, yeah.
I did learn one thing from Dean Capper, though, about that.
What?
That when you make money at the store, there's a reason why. You stock every lake with about 10,000 pike in the spring, and they come by tackle. Dean taught me well.
Don't tell the DNR.
That happens?
Yeah. Why do you think you got to buy all this tackle? We got all them pike. You can thank Dean for that.
Fucking hate those things, man.
He's a good teacher. Thanks, Dean.
I suppose. Yeah, it's good for tackle sales.
That's right.
Yeah. That's wild. You better not be doing that. I don't like them things. So Gancraft and the Depths slide swimmer.
Yep.
And there's a lot to a glide bait, I
Yeah.
guess. And you guys, not only do you carry the right baits, but you carry the right equipment to throw
Yeah.
those baits.
Oh, yeah.
So what kind of different, you need almost a different rod, a whole different setup for something like that.
When you start getting into those big baits, it's it's a longer rod, and I mean longer than a flipping stick. The main guys who are throwing that size of glide bait or even a big swim bait are throwing like a 7.7 to a 7.10. But what happens is it's not like a flipping stick where a lot of those flipping sticks are fast action or extra fast. You want the more parabolic bend. So
Yeah.
it's like a really stiff crankbait rod. So where it bends is deeper, so that you're not pulling the bait out of their face. But it still is going to be strong, going to have the backbone. You're still going to want to be able to give them the nuts the same way you would with a 7.6 heavy action flipping stick. But what happens is you're also buying a rod not just for setting the hook and hooking fish. It's for slinging that big swim bait around. So now you're trying to look and see how it loads and its recoil rate and how you can whip that bait around the best way possible. So we've got a fair amount of flipping sticks, and if you're gonna just go throw a mag draft or anything to that equivalent, a dangerous swim bait is a good example. Yeah, you can throw a 7.6 medium heavy or heavy action and get away with it. But if you're gonna come in and get a Gancraft jointed claw 220, they're this big. You're gonna break your flipping stick. I don't care how good of a flipping stick it is. When you go to whip it, that's way more tension and whip that you're creating on that blank than
Throwing
you
a
would.
fucking dumbbell, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So when we look, that's why they're swim bait specific rods.
Right,
They're built
right.
to handle that whip.
You just kind of explained the perfect swim bait rod.
I mean, that's essentially boiling it down to that is
But
what you're looking for.
I had Dane make me one, a Pasalka custom.
Yeah.
I had him make me one, and that's that rod. I mean,
Yeah.
100%. What he
I had
just
to make
explained,
me
that's
one.
Dane's rod that he makes.
I like that, and I like that rod for, I mean, that bellows gill swimmer even. Like,
yeah.
maybe it's a little, but it bends in the perfect spot.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
There's something to that with this chicken rod too. I've noticed that bend, you almost get it down past the first guide when you lean into them.
Yep.
There's something about that.
We've sold a lot of his chicken rods. A lot.
Really?
A lot of his chicken
That's
rods.
good.
A lot of hair jig rods.
Yeah.
A decent amount of random other models.
Sure.
People love his stuff.
Yeah, the hair jig rod, we can't get enough of those in, Dane.
Yeah.
Well, no one makes nothing like that, man.
No.
And him and I were on Sturgeon Bay, and we were using that St. Croix Avid 7.6 medium light, and we were cussing in the boat because we couldn't. We were spooking smallies on this flat, and Dane was just getting into building rods at this point, and I'm like, dude,
Yeah.
let's find a blank. Let's play with. Let's make this our project next year. So over the winter, calls me up one day, dude, I got it. I got it. So I actually have the first one he ever made. He made it for me. It's like, I'll never sell that thing. But I feel like that hair jig rod is similar in a swim bait on what we talked about, bigger and smaller on a microscopic level. Like there's a light rod that Dane makes that's perfect for that,
Yep.
But
Yeah.
man, so you haven't got into it yet, though. How come?
Because he's Jay.
Not enough time. I'll use that.
I mean, it's a minor miracle we got him on the JDM stuff. I think it's one of those things where it's one thing at a time.
There's still plenty of time this fall.
Yeah, I mean, if you do it, I'm old school. I mean,
I love that.
Mark Rowley and I, I'll tell you what, we were mean. We did really well.
Yeah.
We had a good time.
You did.
He was the wart expert, that whole clan.
Right. Well, you
And-
get Wart and DT. I don't think you could be beat if there's a crankbait bite.
No. Dude,
You had it figured out in 10 minutes, I bet.
we had so much fun.
Tell me some stories about the old times, because to be honest with you, that's some of the most favorite stories I've heard on the podcast was about, the times way back when bass fishing, because, I came up through dial-up internet, and I kind of came up from marker buoys to where we are now, but not the tournament side of it. There was GPS, side imaging, all that stuff when I started fishing tournaments. So
Yeah, we had none of that. We line up a tree in a house and hope to God you're within 20 feet of it.
yeah, when did you first get into tournament fishing, Jay? Like when did you get started?
22, 23 years old, probably.
Which was
A long time ago.
I mean, okay. Chicago's first album came out in 1969. Was it before that?
Well, I graduated in 81, and I probably fished my first derby in 81. So what,
Cool.
locals,
Yep.
local stuff. You had
Yeah.
to start small.
Right.
And I started going, I'm pretty good at this. I can think like a fish. Yeah, and then reality slapped me in the face,
Because where'd you grow up?
Prior Lake.
Prior Lake.
Yep,
Okay.
yep.
So that's kind of where you cut your teeth, tournament fishing.
Yep.
There's a big rivalry between Prior Lake and the Minnetonka boys back in
Oh,
the day. I know.
Yeah,
that
I was both. Because
Okay.
I fished with Mark.
Right. Who's
I fished with Shane.
Yeah.
We would fish prior. I mean, he was talking about the wiggle wart, and I'm telling you, I have bled. And you wouldn't know it until you were done, and you go to bed and you go, God. And you look and you got a bruise and a rash, and you're scarred from this thing, and you don't even know you did it. That was how aggressive that bite was.
That wiggle wart bite.
The wiggle wart
Or that magwort. It's
Yep.
a mag. I mean, big crankbait ripping it through the grass. You got to experience kind of those glory
yeah.
days of it. And
Mark and I fished the Frankie Marine 2-day tournament that's been going on forever. And I used to give away a boat.
Right.
We won a lot of boats.
How many? It's crazy.
With the Capras and us, because we were kind of teamed up.
Yep.
You know,
Yep.
there had to have been 5, I would say. You know, that we were together. But,
And how many boats have you won? You've won boats too.
7. So
The tournament scene ain't what it used to be around here anymore, is
there's
it?
no boats anymore.
7.
When you were talking about the wart, Mark and I
Just
fished.
ain't the same.
No. We fished. Mark was fishing the wart. We're on the 2-day tournament, Frankie tournament. And that's when the chatterbait came out. Okay?
What year was that?
Oh, God, dude, I don't remember. A long time ago. I honestly don't.
Chatterbait. When did the chatterbait?
Chatterbait came out in
Probably
about
20 years ago.
07-ish, if I'm not
Maybe,
mistaken.
yeah.
There's got to be a book on that somewhere. Like someone's got to write.
I don't
a book
know.
on
Just
that
ask
shit.
Brian Thrift. He was like,
Oh, yeah.
he made it big. He's literally the reason that bait's what it is.
Right. Right. So anyway.
So
yeah, sorry.
Mark was warting, and I was
March 10th,
Trying to-
2004.
Thank you, Jamie.
It did not
Nice
get
work.
big until at least like 06 though, because I remember when
No,
he
he's
started
talking.
winning.
He's talking. That was the start date, not before we
That's
heard
when
about it.
Chatterbait
We didn't
said-
hear about it till 06.
yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't until Thrift won like 2 or 3 co-anglers.
Yeah, it gave
Victories
Thrift a few years to win.
Yeah,
But
and then
anyway.
But when
here
they
we are.
when the chatterbait first came out,
Yep.
they were terrible. They, honest to God, you'd throw it in the water and the blade wouldn't move. You'd have to rip your rod to get the blade to turn. You know?
Sure.
So Marco's Wharton, I'm like, I got to do something different. So I got these chatterbaits, and I took a big chunk of lead, and I put it on the shaft, just crimped her on there, so I could get these down into 20 feet of water.
Waiting a DT10, but
Okay.
it's a chatterbait. I love that.
Yep. So I'd have to go buy 20 of those to find 3 of them that would run right without
Holy
ripping
smokes,
it.
dude.
All right. So we got a Ted.
Love that.
Yeah, Ted was with me. Ted Capper was with me, and Mark. I said, "You got to see this thing." And we went out on Green Lake in North South Center, and I freaking destroyed them. I mean, Ted's like, "Are you? What in the hell is this thing, dude?" I destroyed them. I mean, we won that year on that thing. I mean, crushed them.
Gave those guys all your other ones? Kept the good ones?
Shane was teamed up with Ted on a 2-day tournament. Unfortunately, we were on the same lake at the same time, because usually it's half and half.
Yep.
Well, Shane and Ted were in the lead. So the next day on the next lake, we had to give them the juice, because obviously we're trying to win the boat. We're teamed up.
Right.
It's like 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and we haven't got nothing in the tank. Nothing. Mark and I. And there, because we gave them the juice. We pulled up on the rocks, and I started throwing that chatterbait weighted. Came in second place. Just destroyed them. And people had no idea. Everyone goes, "Oh, he's throwing a spinnerbait." For years, everybody's throwing a spinnerbait. I was throwing that chatterbait.
So you were throwing that before anyone was throwing it?
Nobody was throwing that thing.
I know.
Not the way I was throwing it.
Well, I guarantee it. They didn't
Yeah.
probably spend the time
Oh, my God.
that you spent with it. And that's the respect I have for you, is because I respect people who put their time in and take it the extra mile, whether it's, putting that extra time on the water, putting that extra time into those finer details of their baits, things like that. I mean, I have a lot of respect for that. So, like, that chatterbait deal, they ran like shit. And you said you wrapped
Remember,
like lead weight around the shank.
Remember
so that was kind of the deal.
The sinker you used to get and had that black piece of rubber with the two ends.
Yeah,
You
came
pull-
with the trailer.
You pull that piece of rubber out, put it on the shaft, and crimp it down. Different weights. You can have any weight you wanted.
What? So my assumption when you told me like you had 20 and then 3 that ran, like you had 3
Yeah.
magic ones. My guess is you got 3 of them to hunt.
Yeah.
Really good, where it was erratic and that thing was moving.
You could throw it out there, the blades moved, no matter what you did.
Rum.
Yeah, exactly.
Rum.
And then the next 5 would go down and hit the bottom and never start. You could never get the blade to.
See,
you could
that's
bend
some
it and tweak
gangster
it.
shit, Jay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because Ted would look at me and goes, "What are you doing?" I mean, I had 40 freaking chatterbaits laying on the bottom. You go, "Well, these are trash, and these are really good ones. So this is the ones for the tournament."
It's like sifting through balsa baits.
Yeah.
Like balsa B2s or something like that.
You should see my DTs at home. I have boxes still in the packages of DTs from the beginning that are weighted, custom painted, everything.
You've got them at the shop too.
Yeah, they're at home now.
Dude,
They were disappearing.
where did you find this guy? Where did you find this guy, Ross?
I have no clue.
I love how insane you are
Oh.
about that shit.
I
I
used-
love that. I love mad scientist
Yeah.
We
insanity
do love
when
a
it comes to
little
bass fishing.
You just gotta do things different.
That's some mad scientist shit, dude.
You want to hear one really off the shelf?
Yeah.
We were in a tournament up on Leech Lake, all right? I think it was an NABC or whatever tournament it was. Well, I was sponsored by Scumfrog then.
Okay.
Right? Well, Scumfrog had a blaze orange or a blaze red frog
Yep.
with a black tail. Nobody had one. I went up there and I put on a clinic on this red frog. Dude, you could throw a frog and they wouldn't eat it. That red one, they destroyed it. Well, I was teamed up with Ted and all those guys again. I went back to the cabin. I go, guys, this thing is money, and I got like 3 of them. So, all said and done, we go to the meeting. There's a meeting that night before. Mark, Dean, I don't know about Dean, but Ted all came and they all had red fingers. They were painting frogs red. It was freaking awesome. And in the tournament, they didn't bite it.
Isn't that weird?
They wouldn't touch it.
Do you? I had that happen on the river one time where they want a black frog. I swear to God.
Yep.
Wouldn't touch a tournament day. Do you think they get conditioned to that deal, or
Nah.
or just mood changes?
It could be
I don't
it
even
could be as
understand
much
that.
as the sun. It could be
Yeah.
just the angle of the sun. I mean, there's some bays I fish frogging where the sun's got to be here and not here. I mean, that's just it.
So Mark, when I was talking to Mark, he said you're basically the biggest mad scientist he's ever met when it comes to a crankbait. And the other thing he mentioned was a frog. So
Yeah.
it's funny you say that. Now you're talking about sun angle, like, I mean,
Mark
we're getting deep here, and I love it.
and I won a tournament. We were throwing a frog in whitecaps. Believe it or not, okay?
Fucking whitecaps, Jay?
Whitecaps. And even Mark says, you're nuts. Anyway,
Yeah.
we got in this back bay, and as his boat drifted through these lily pads and all this stuff, it would rip all the lily pads up and make these floating islands. You know? So you know what the roots look like on a lily pad. They're that big around.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden we had all these 10 by 10 islands of floating roots that would be ripped up from the motor drifting through. Well, we go back through it again and throw a frog on those floating islands and catch 4 or 5 pounders. It was insane.
It's almost like you made the home for him.
100%. And we won. We won that tournament on a frog. If nobody would ever fish a frog in 2 or 3 footers. It was awesome. I couldn't believe it. Nobody could believe it.
Was that something you had done before, or was that just how much confidence you had in a frog?
That much confidence I had in the frog, especially on that lake.
You and I are very different that way, sir, but I respect that. Like, so what gave you so much confidence in a frog? And I know Ross likes a frog too.
Not like Jay.
Not like
Not like Jay.
There's a lot of tackle that you can throw, obviously.
Yeah.
Everybody has their favorites.
Yeah.
But, I mean, if I could put 3 rods on the deck, it would be a jig, a roller jig, a crank. I don't care how deep it goes, and a frog. The hell with the rest. Because that's what I like to catch them on, and that's fun for me.
Hell yeah.
If I'm going out there throwing a piece of poop that I don't know anything about and I'm not catching fish, it ain't fun.
But now it is. Now that you
I like poop.
Will you-
Poop is good.
Are you sure we don't need to cut that out?
No, God, no. Poop is good.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So a frog, I've come to respect a frog. Not being a frog expert, I've learned a lot about a frog and it's its own art form. And we've talked about this on the podcast before, but fishing is an art form in so many ways. If you're a dock fisherman, that's its own art form. If you're a offshore grass fisherman, that's its own art form, And a frog, even frog fishing, there's a lot more to it than throw your frog on the mat and walk it back.
I can tell you two situations on a crankbait, deep crank, and a frog. And this will work probably 100% of the time if the fish are anywhere in the area. DT16, get on your rocks, you fish them, you know what's there. You make the same identical cast to the same spot, 10, 15, 20 casts. These fish are coming. You're calling these fish to that spot. And all of a sudden, you know how it works. All of a sudden, you catch 9, 10 fish in a row because you have called these fish and they're feeding now because that's where the noise is coming from.
Wait, so, okay, that's interesting. That's actually something I actually didn't think about on an offshore spot unless we're talking about smallmouth, because that's like the best 1-2 punch in smallmouth is the guy's throwing the attractor, activating and calling in those smallmouth, and the guy in the back throws a Ned rig, Senko, drop shot, dice, whatever you want to throw.
You guys keep going. I'm going to go use the restroom. I'll be right back.
Do it up, buddy.
All right.
Take your time. Just tap Willie if you need him sub in.
Willie, you want to sub in?
Come on, Willie. Let's talk some chicken.
Get in here, Willie.
Willie's the
Okay.
So go ahead.
Calling him in with a crankbait, you're talking to literally a school of largemouths.
You're
that
talking,
is mind-blowing to me.
You can sit on a flat. Nowadays, with this 360 and the front facing and all that stuff, you can see these fish. But a lot of times you see 2, 3, 3, 2. Not like smallies all grouped up on a boulder.
Yeah.
But you throw a crankbait, grind it on the bottom, same identical cast, these fish are coming to the noise. Coming to the noise. And I've done this hundreds of times. And all of a sudden, you load the live well. I've done it with a frog. I know this mat, there's fish in this mat. I've thrown a frog out on a mat and make the same identical cast 10 or 15 times, and all of a sudden you will see the mat moving closer and closer to where that frog is at. And all of a sudden, there they are, they eat. I've done it hundreds of times. It's crazy to think about, but it works. And I don't burn a frog. I fish a frog very slow.
That might be the juiciest juice ever released on this podcast, ever recorded. Like, Willie, what do you make of all that?
I don't know with this guy sometimes, but it works.
Yep.
I mean,
Willie and I've had some really good days. You can do the same thing on a roller jig.
Well,
you don't think you can, but you keep grinding that thing on the same rock, they're coming.
Largemouth.
Largemouth.
And see, what's crazy about that is Chad Smith told this story on the podcast one time about how him stomping on the bottom and kicking up dust would like attract smallmouth to him, like when he's just like standing in the water. And that made a lot of sense to me because smallmouth are very curious, and we obviously know they're very curious, following oriented fish. They'll swim right up to your boat sometimes, right? But largemouth, Jay? Largemouth, Jay?
Done it many, many times. Put a couple boats in my back pocket.
Sweet mother of Tiffany.
I did it on Minnetonka, on a 3-day tournament. 2-day on Tonka, 1 day on Pryor. And I found a spot over in Browns Bay. It was a boulder out in 22 feet of water. I shouldn't say a boulder. There was a couple boulders, but I had to stay off of it and throw a DT. And I grind it. Dude, I weighed 24 pounds in like 15 minutes off that spot. So I saved it till the next day, came back, told it was Pro-Am. I told my am, I said, you cannot throw until I'm done, because if you lose one, it's over. You know how that goes. They shut the school down. And I threw. We needed one fish. He threw out there and he caught a 6-pounder. We just had him schooled up, but you had to throw the same cast. You could not. You throw here and here and here and here. These fish are going, oh, now it's here. Oh, now it's here. Now it's here. So they keep chasing the noise. So that's why fan casting goes, you fan cast a flat. Well, maybe at first, but no. You grind one spot and they'll come.
Dude, I always fan cast a flat.
A lot of people do. And they all go, there's no fish here.
I make a clock, and I go 12 o'clock, and then I go 1 o'clock, and then maybe I'll skip to 9.
Yep.
But I'll usually get, 8
so now
out of 12.
So the fish is at 12 o'clock, now looking at 1 o'clock, going, well, now it's over here at 9 o'clock. Oh, screw that. I ain't going all the way over there. I'm tired.
I thought I was looking for bass. Turns out I was just taking them to the gym. Jesus.
Pretty much. Yeah. Yeah, it definitely works.
My mind is blown right now.
That's a really good lesson for people. It might sound stupid, but I'm telling you it works.
It doesn't sound stupid. It makes sense, dude, because no one's doing it.
Nope. I think we have a...
Do we need a cut? Like, Jesus, are you sure?
No. Use it. I hope you get better by it.
I almost feel bad hearing that.
No. I got it. We have a gentleman on Tonka right now. His name's Matt Cunningham. He's winning everything right now.
What the hell?
Well, he's out there a lot.
Okay.
Super nice guy.
Yep.
And you hear stories, he's cheating. He's cheating. He ain't cheating. He's really good. He's got the electronics. He's got 2 trolling motors on his boat. And I honestly think he's kind of doing what I was talking about, because he goes out on these deep rocks, and I see him making that same cast when I watch him. So I think he might have that a little bit. Maybe he's not doing it, but I think that's kind of what he's doing too, and he's bringing them to him, to his lure.
And he's got the right baits, too.
He's definitely got the right baits.
It's so funny because I'm such a huge proponent of the cast, but yet I don't think about it like that. I think about it as that's where they're going to eat, not that, hey, if I make this cast enough,
they will come.
They might, like, if I ring this dinner bell enough, by golly, Helen might come.
Yep, you're definitely ringing the bell, and they will come.
Jeepers.
Yep.
What?
I didn't believe it, and we went out, and a couple mornings, I mean, he did it.
Yeah.
Exactly how he just talked about it. Just same spot lock right here, cast right here.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
10 casts, 10 fish out of this guy.
Yeah.
So you want, like, that... That's wild. So you, like, when you go to a flat, you go to your juice and you call them, do you?
100%.
You don't work that whole flat. You go to the juice and you call them in.
You pick your drop, or you pick your weed break, or your 4 or 5 bowlers that are sitting out there by itself, and you hit that thing, and you hit it hard. You make noise. They're coming.
Yeah.
You just got to hope what you're throwing is what they're going to eat. But if it's a crankbait, dude, they're going to eat it. It's a gill. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're going to eat it.
You make them eat it.
That's right.
Make them eat it.
I used to throw a frog. I go on the heaviest mat. Birds are walking on this mat. It's so thick. I'd throw a frog as high as I could in the air. And it'd come down and hit the mat and blow a hole.
Yeah?
All right?
The old duckweed trick.
100%. Next cast, you try to do the same thing, get as close as you can. All of a sudden, you see the mat move. You know he's there. No, you just wait. Just put it in the hole. All of a sudden, they don't blow up on it. You hear, it's a 5-pounder. Done it a lot.
Put it in the hole.
Put it in the hole.
What's some, like, juicy little frog tricks you've learned over the years? Because there's a lot of things, you can put rattles in them, you can weight them, you can paint them, you can walk them, you can talk them, you can blah, 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 blah.
I've taken frogs, and I'll cut one side of the legs, a skirt, a little bit shorter than the other one.
Yep.
So when you walk it always turns.
Yep.
You
It walks a little easier, right?
It walks easier. I don't fish fast. I fish holes. I'll drag it and fuzz it, and if I see anything, I'll just let it sit there and just twitch so that leg just do this. So they just turn left or right.
You've put blades on frogs too, right?
Well,
that's a sneaky.
We put blades on them before the blade frogs came out.
Okay.
But it was very hard to do because they're very sensitive. They like to sink, so you have to find the right stuff.
Sure.
Sure. But I put rattles in them, and I think it was more for weight to get it out there. More than it was anything, because you put glass beads in there, it might have made noise, but when they get water, they just stick together. There's no rattle.
I suppose,
It was just more to get it out there.
Sure.
Blow a bigger hole.
I heard about guys using just, like, BBs, like saying
BBs.
Like
I've
BBs.
heard bells.
Oh, bells. Yeah.
Yep,
bells
little cat toy bells.
Sure.
They work when they're dry.
But you think there's something to working a frog real slow, because that's a tough lure to be patient with sometimes. So, like, I guess you get them to move. How do you get a bass to move in the mat and, like, know they're there? It's like, I mean,
just keep hitting the same spot.
There's a lot of mats out there, Jay.
I know.
How do you pick them? Like, what do you look for in a mat? Like, why is one mat? Why does this mat have big old bass on it, and all of these mats?
It could have a foot of water deeper underneath it.
Sure.
It could just be how warm the weeds are.
Okay.
I've seen that. I fish shadow sides of a lake in the morning where the sun's coming up over here, so the sun's actually warming up over here, and you don't catch nothing. But you come back in the afternoon when the sun's hitting that bank, you know they're there. They're just not active. And then you'll catch them as soon as that warms up.
So you like the sun hitting the mat. 100%. You find that's key.
Yep.
Even with a frog. Like, and see, a guy like me, I would think, like, if the sun's not hitting a mat, they're just not going to be in the mat as much, and I'm going to fish, like, those pockets around the mat. Mm-hmm. And I guess a lot of people think when it gets sunny and hot, you got to flip and punch the mat, and I guess
It's a good 1-2 deal.
Well, you can still make them eat a frog, so I mean,
Oh, yeah.
it can be done.
Yeah.
And you guys have some sneaky frogs at the old Waypoint Angler Supply, Ross. And you've turned me on to a few of them. I guess, Willie, I'm gonna start with you. Like, do you have a favorite frog at Waypoint right now? There's quite a few.
I keep it old school. I go with the bronze eye.
With the skirt.
Yeah, just skirted. Those bladed ones, I mean, they definitely have a time and a place. I like throwing those through like rice and weeds up north.
It's because you can burn them like a buzzbait, kind of.
Yeah, you can burn them like a buzzbait. I mean, it does that same little whoop whoop whoop, like that little.
Yep. You get
noise.
two little props going.
I don't know. What is it? There's a couple little JDM ones. That
The
one.
Basseriski.
Yeah, Bass. That's what it is.
You got one on your wall.
I like that one.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, that thing is weird. That Debsperisky,
Yeah.
you got me that. Cole and I were talking about that before you got here. That has got the most unique action I've ever
It
seen.
makes
on
a
frog.
real wake behind your frog.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't seen that kind of a wake behind a frog ever until I threw that thing. Jay and I were throwing it this spring, and that
That's crazy wake.
I've noticed, is there a certain gear ratio reel that you guys have found that makes it walk? Because sometimes it engages and sometimes it doesn't. But it seems like when you get the right cadence with it, it's a beautiful thing.
I think you just got to reel slower on a 7-speed. That's what I do.
Yeah.
Got it.
I'm high gear. I'm on power because I'm fishing slow anyway.
Sure.
And a lot of even my cranks, my rollers, all that stuff is more of a drag than a reel. So I'll drag and pick up line.
Sure.
Same thing with a frog. I'm just twitching it and burn it through a hole and twitch it. Unless you're throwing a horny toad or something where you want to get some movement, like pre-fishing a lot, you'll just burn it and you'll have fish pop at it so you know there's fish there. It's not very often does a frog leave that cover. You know,
Sure.
they live there. They're going to stay there. And sometimes you just back it up with a jig if they miss it. But, you know.
Sure.
Horny toad is to me, is a search bait. I miss a lot of fish on it because it's burning too fast through that thick of cover.
It's a great practice tool, and it seems like there's places they eat it better, like a river system. It seems like they eat a horny toad better.
Yeah.
That's been my experience, but I am like so far from Jay.
Well, them river fish have got so much speed and so much power. It's crazy.
That's what it seems like. I mean, even in 40-degree weather. I mean, yeah. But it's crazy. How's everybody doing? Anybody have to pee?
I'm good.
I could take a leak.
Willie?
Yeah, I'll leak.
Good luck out there. There is bears and mountain lions, so just do a scan up before you go. Just make sure they pounce.
If you're not back in 5 minutes, we're bringing the lotion.
Yeah. So Ross, I gotta give you some props, man, because I'm probably the pickiest dude when it comes to these things, and I think probably the most favoritist thing, one of them that I've got from Waypoint Angler Supply is this tungsten ammo box.
Yeah.
And I just have to ask you, because you developed this, right?
So me and Andrew DeCock, he's the director of the Greenhorn Bass Tour.
Okay.
So back when I ran that tour with Andrew, this had to be 5-6 years ago, we wanted to make a box that isn't bulky, doesn't rust out, doesn't fall all over hell on your boat when you're going over big waves. So that's where that box came from.
Well, storing your terminal tackle is an absolute bear cat, and I've never bought into any hype of any terminal storage that's come in because I got one of these, dude, and I'm in love with it.
Yeah.
Like, it is the business, and I've dropped it twice. Dropped it. Pounds of lead and tungsten, and thing just holds up.
Yeah.
I guess, what was like did this start from scratch, or I guess
It started from scratch, and it came from guys like Erik who have no sense of organization whatsoever.
Excuse me.
Oh, he is sitting here.
I'm back.
So we actually made an example out of him because you had, was it the Academy box?
It's yeah, that black and gray Academy box. Yeah,
So
everyone's got one.
I
of
was
those,
telling
it
Eric,
seems like.
I was telling him about this box, and he was not sold on it whatsoever. He goes, "No, my tungsten box, perfect. I
There's no
love my
fucking
tungsten
way.
box."
There's no fucking way. That's what I said to him. There's no fucking way this is any better.
He opened up his
What were you running?
Academy,
the
right?
Academy box.
Yeah, it's
you know,
junk.
it's
You stick
It's
the you
junk.
stick the
it's you know.
you stick the
it's
tungsten
shitty.
in the
It's-
foam when they get stuck and you can't get them back out.
Yeah,
it's
by the
all
way-
rusted.
By the way, I didn't realize how stuck they were in there until I started transferring them to the ammo box, and I was like, "All right, I guess I gotta get the pliers
You
out."
gotta get the pliers
like,
and you chip your paint off.
I'm pulling like 1/8 ounce, tungsten out of this little foam piece.
Yep.
It was a pain in the ass.
Oh, dude.
I should probably get.
And you can tell
Yeah,
what's
dude, I got my regular weights, and then I'll put specialty weights in the same size above it, so I
you
know
can tell what's
exactly-
inside at all times. You
I
can
sold
get,
4 of those out of the boat at State.
yeah,
4.
yeah.
I got O-rings from Arsenal in there. I got every drop shot weight. I mean, fish arrow free rig weights. I mean, I got
Beads, pegs.
fish leveling devices for the live well.
Let me see that thing. Oh, it's just
So that's the first depth finder
It's a
you ever
thin
had,
clip.
Jay.
that's just no. First one was a tape measure.
Oh, a tape measure.
Yeah, yeah.
Jesus.
See bottom right to the inch and how hard the bottom was. Worked like a
I
sharp.
suppose.
Yeah.
But like,
Gosh, Jay, you are old school.
Oh yeah. Hell yeah.
They're the deal. That's all there is to it. I mean, there's nothing better out there. There's not.
how hard? Like, I'm just like, it's well thought out. It's like, and designing a product's not like easy. So what made you like? How many different things did you test out to like get to this one? Because
We got it right the first time.
nailed it.
It was right the first time. We didn't have to really change much at all to it. We knew what we wanted. We got it done. It was just years and years of going through Erik's example of his tungsten box. It was just terrible. So
It was pretty trash.
and we didn't release them until we knew they were absolutely perfect.
Sure.
So
So you tested them, you went
Yep.
through them, and yeah. There it is, the tungsten ammo box. Dude, I just want to give you props. Like, that is like a sick invention. Are you like, do you have any other products like cooked up in your head that, you're just waiting?
I'm not that creative.
Well, I'll be honest, you made something that
You're too
way
modest.
cooler than anything I ever thought of, dude. So, like, yeah. So you can get these at the store. What do they run?
So it's $49.99 for the box with 2 sticker sheets. So there's a choice of, there's a flipping sticker sheet, there's a drop shot sticker sheet, there's a blank sticker sheet that you can write all over. I think there's another one with hooks on it, and then I think they're about $45 with 1 sticker, and they're $40 with no stickers. So
Is it waterproof?
it is
Water
as waterproof
resistant?
as I know. Yeah, I haven't had.
I haven't got any water in it.
No.
No. I mean, granted, I've got waterproof boxes, but I mean, and I'll be honest, I've never spent that kind of money on a tackle box
Yep.
before, but once you get your stuff in this, I honestly think about how much time I've wasted and how much different ways I've tried to do my terminal tackle, and I bet I could use this for the next 10 years
Yep.
and not have an issue. And I'm not an organized person, and there isn't weights hanging around my boat because I don't know where to put them, all that stuff. So
We have
dude, I love this thing.
Dave, the guy that's been winning all of our walleye tournaments that shops at the store, he's got 4 of those for his walleye tackle.
I was gonna say, like, I'm
It's not just
thinking
a
about a
bass thing.
second one,
Yep.
and I'm also thinking, like, if you put a little bit bigger compartments and did a
Yep.
second version, like as
Yep.
a hook box, I think it would be
I know-
absolutely money.
I know it says the tungsten ammo box, but if we just rebranded it as the ice fishing ammo box,
Oh,
I'm pretty
yeah.
sure those guys would be all over it.
Ice fishing season's coming up too. Like,
Sadly, we don't talk about that.
I didn't even think about this for beer drinking. I mean, ice fishing.
And the Galaxy 20 discount code online will work on those boxes too. So that's super helpful.
Yeah,
And
and you
buy
save
2.
20%.
And we are stocked up
Speaking
big
about
time
Dave,
at this.
our walleye guy,
Yeah.
he won his first derby this year on the Bellows Gill.
What? A walleye tournament got one on the bell.
Now he's
He
gonna
fished
kill
it
us.
just like a giant
Dave's gonna want us to cut that probably, but
Nah, he said it's okay.
oh, did he? Okay, we're good then.
Thanks, Dave.
Fished it just like a big giant leech, and won on Mille Lacs.
I don't know. I think
Black
it was an 8
Walleyes
ounce.
have never seen a leech this fat.
I
Black
think it was on an
bellows
8
gill.
ounce Northland tungsten jig.
Yep.
Dude, that's a
And
husky
bellows-
leech.
Live scoping.
When we showed him that bellows gill in the store, he goes, and I go, dude, that's a giant leech. He goes,
You're right.
yeah. Every black one we had gone. He comes back after the tournament. I won. Bellows gill. I'm like, son of a bitch. It does work.
He had like a
We
stack
special
of
ordered
those
them.
gills, and then he had the jig heads. And
Yeah.
I remember him sitting there at the dock, and he just kind of sitting there, and all of a sudden he's like, "They'll eat that, right, Eric?" And I'm like, "I don't fish for walleye, but I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
they'll eat that, Dave."
And
I
he
think
did
it'll
say
be
at the
okay."
beginning, don't you tell anybody about this. Nobody. And then after he won, and then he won, and then he second, and then he won, he goes, now you can tell people.
Well,
He's
it's
got
easy.
AOI
You just
so locked up, it's stupid.
what
Yeah.
what walleye series is this?
I don't even know what series it
Is
is.
Tonka one?
No.
It's the AIM or the MTT or both.
He's doing
It's one of
good
those.
in both. He's
Yeah.
like in
Like-
the top 3 in points in both or something.
No,
crazy
I mean,
like
he
that.
already won Angler of the Year.
Yeah, he
said he
won one
can't
of them.
lose it. He said he didn't have to show up on
He'd
the
have to
last
show
one.
up. He would still would
Yeah.
have won.
Yeah,
Crazy.
he's just dominating over there.
Yeah,
You
he's
guys
up
get
on
spinner
Lake
rigs in yet and try like death
Why
spiraling?
would we do that? We got bellows
gill?
gills.
Well, you tried death spiraling in the bellows gill at 1.5 miles an hour yet?
Maybe the swimmer.
Now we're thinking.
No, but that's crazy, the evolution of baits, and like there's gill baits now, and now all of a sudden this gill bait craze is coming on. So you've got what, the bellows gill, the bellows shad, the bellows gill swimmer, which I'm a big fan of.
We just got the new 6 Sense panorama in today. 5 inch.
Oh yeah, the one
and 6.5
Milliken
inch.
and
Yeah, we got those in
Mr.
today.
Jones have been hyping up.
Yep.
They do look like juice. I'll give it that.
I want to know all the hype around it because
I don't believe any of the hype until somebody I know has fished it or until I
Yeah.
fished it, but it does look pretty damn good
Oh,
in
what-
the package. I'll give it that.
I can bring the boat tomorrow.
What do you think of them, Jay? Junk.
Honest to God, I haven't seen it because I wasn't there today.
Okay. Thoughts, Ross, initially?
All I've seen is a video, so I don't know.
We'll check it out.
I mean,
in
they
the
look
tank.
real.
They-
And
They look pretty fucking good. All right. I mean,
that gizzard shad bait, I mean, I ain't seen nothing that looks
Well,
like
this
gizzard
is
shad.
this is
more
the
than
time to
that.
throw it is now because they're eating swimming right now. Tonka, they're eating moving baits.
They're eating moving baits, I think.
I've
Yeah.
seen some underwater footage of that panorama, and it
Yeah.
does this thing.
Yeah.
I can't do with my hand, but it looks like a friggin'
It
fish.
doesn't look like
It
it would
looks
move like
legit.
it does.
Really?
It looks legit. I guess we'll see if it transfers. You know, underwater footage doesn't always mean that the fish will bite it, but like,
Well, less is more sometimes. We
Yeah.
can agree on that, right?
100%.
yeah, that's why a Ned rig works so damn good. Less is more.
That's or that's why they eat the poop.
That's why they eat.
That's why they eat the poop.
What's your big highlight this year?
Man, this year was mediocre at best. I would say our best tournament highlight was Leech, but probably my best highlight was that topwater bite I got on Sunday.
Yeah. Go
I
figure,
forgot
right?
about every other bite I got this year after that.
That's why you were so quiet when I showed up.
Oh no, it was a big old shower blow. They were wailing on it. 1 to 5 blowups every cast on the juice. They were tuna boating it.
Unbelievable.
Oh my gosh, I'm gonna have wet dreams for like 5 weeks.
National Geographic shit right
Yeah,
there.
yeah. Get the washing machine going because we changing the sheets, baby. That topwater bite was insane,
Isn't it amazing what 3 days will do?
dude. Went back last night. Didn't
Did you?
catch a one.
Did you really?
Yeah, I went back to see. I probably hooked 60 of them, but only landed 30. So I figure I stabbed 60 of them with a big old topwater. They're probably a little skittish.
Yeah.
You might be a little familiar.
Yeah, but
Are you,
No.
are you fishing Saturday out there? In the throwback tournament? No.
where's that at?
Rush.
I like that lake, dude. I like that lake. I don't know what it like.
It is really good to me.
It's a fun lake.
It is a
I think it's fun. Like you can catch them shallow, you can catch them offshore.
You can catch them at 6 inches to 30.
Man, I got to talk to you after this because I'm so disappointed. Because I had what I felt was a really sneaky offshore program. I felt like going into that one that did not. I mean, just did not. I don't know what happened. Full moon tournament day, but I don't know why that didn't make a meet. But I mean, I got to show you some things to see if you know about these little rock spots because they're subtle little deals and they're loaded in practice anyway. The most infamous bass fisherman slogan ever said in the history of bass fishing. But
I did the same thing out there. I pre-fished the night before and I caught a 6-pounder on a crankbait, and I'm like, we've had a tournament the next night, and Lonnie and I started on a different point, and I said, we're going to catch 25 3-pounders here, but that's not going to win. And we did that, filled the tank, and I go, well, I got a 6-pounder right over there. We went over there, and within 12 minutes, we had like 22.5 pounds.
Jeez.
Yeah. 5 casts, 2 doubles.
And what's crazy to me is everybody's like, well, they sprayed all the grass on Rush and it's trash now. Well, sure, I guess I don't know what it's like before they sprayed the grass, so that's probably a good thing for me. But what I noticed was there was different grass that grew up in the milfoil's place. Yep. And that's something I've noticed on Tonka a little bit too, where you start to see, and it's not as good a grass. It's not as good a grass, but cabbage will grow up where they sprayed that foil after. And on Rush, it was like eelgrass, cabbage, a little bit of foil, and a little bit of coontail. Yeah. And it at least gave us those fish something to use and something to pattern if you're an angler, facing those lakes that get sprayed a lot, So I guess that's what I learned.
Cabbage is coming back on Tonka. Deep cabbage.
How deep? That's cool.
16.
Whoa.
Yeah.
I don't even remember those days. When was the last time that happened?
Oof. Deep cabbage?
Yeah.
20 years maybe. And then the milfoil really took over and took care of the cabbage.
Sure.
And then they started killing everything. But
right
now they're not killing stuff out that deep. So the weeds are getting deeper because they're not killing it. So I don't know if
it makes sense.
I don't know if the bottom is more fertile out there now without poison on it, and they just have to go out there. I don't know. Huh. But the weeds are definitely getting deeper and deeper and deeper, and the deeper they are, the greener they are. I mean, that coontail, it could be end of December, 3 feet of ice, and if you go out there, that coontail is green as this can in 20 feet of water.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. As long as the sun can get through there, that stuff will stay green. That coontail's like concrete; it don't die.
And I can't speak to like the 90s or even the early 2000s on this, but my observation is it seems like there used to be this glorious milfoil program that could be had, right? Mm-hmm. And now it seems like all of our lakes, most of our lakes in Minnesota are now, all that milfoil is gone, or most of it, or isn't what it used to be. And now our lakes are covered in what they call coontail, which can even be considered hydrilla of the north, even though they look somewhat similar. What's this coontail thing? And I guess to me, coontail's a little bit different than, say, like a milfoil. Have you guys? I don't have this coontail thing figured out.
Well, does anyone really have it figured out, truly?
If anybody does, it's you.
Yeah, Matt Cunningham's got it figured out.
I want to hear some theories. Like, at the end of the day, this is an open debate. This is an open discussion. And I like coontail, but some days I hate it.
So I've had a bunch of theories proposed to me about coontail over the years. Some people believe that only pike live in them. That's just not true.
I've
proved
liars.
that over and over again on many random lakes, not just Tonka, that there's plenty of big bass in coontail.
Well, yeah.
It's always going to come down to two things to me when it comes to any type of vegetation bite, but especially the coontail bite on Tonka. How clean and green is the coontail? Mm-hmm. Tonka, the grass out there acts as a filter so often. And there's many times where I've pulled up green coontail that's covered in crap. And I mean like dust, I mean like sediment, I mean, algae and algae's the worst. If you get coontail pulled up and it's got algae on it, I just leave it. I know some guys still catch them on the algae, but I think that algae gets in the gills of the bass. But then the second factor is always going to be bait, and that's the same with foil. That's the same with coontail. I follow those principles the same on those two. Beyond that, I chase, especially on Tonka, and there's some Tonka rats who are going to hear this, might be a little pissed I say this. I get the hell out of the wind, because the more that coontail sticks straight up, the more those fish can kind of set up and find the pockets in it. When it's laid over, they don't like it. They just do not. They might be in it, but they do not like it. So I can, you flip a fighter jig in the middle of a coontail patch and it's sticking straight up and down. You're going down parallel to stocks.
Yeah.
You pitch in there and it's like this. If you're lucky, you'll catch a hole. But you don't know where the hole is, and the stocks are going to be going this way. You're not going to be having them come down clean. So out there, especially if I'm looking at a coontail bite, is it green? Is it clean? Does it have wind blowing on it? And does it have bait? Usually the bait's the biggest factor. But if the wind's blowing it over, it doesn't matter how much bait's there. I just don't catch them on it. And I don't know, Jay, you might have a different experience. You've been doing...
Wind is huge.
Yeah. Everyone's got different philosophies on Tonka about wind, too.
Yeah.
Because some guys love
That's
the
a
wind.
juicy little deal, though.
Yeah.
Like, Cole, we might need another juicer for all this juice.
I have so many points on Tonka that if the wind's blowing from this direction, I don't even stop.
Yep.
They just won't eat it.
So you don't like wind blowing on the grass?
It's depending upon which way it's coming over the flat.
See, and I agree with that to an extent, but I didn't think about it like that. And I know milfoil, I've thought about it like that, but not coontail as much. And I guess what I've found with coontail and just largemouth on offshore stuff in general is that back side of that coontail, because that...
Are you ready to reel in your next home purchase or refinance? Supreme Lending's Dream Team can help guide you through the entire mortgage process, from pre-qualification to closing. They have a wide variety of home loan programs in their tackle box, including down payment assistance and first-time home buyer options. Just ask me. I trusted Aaron Dagas, a bass fisherman just like you and me, and Supreme Lending's Dream Team to help finance my first home. Contact Aaron Dagas and the Dream Team today by scanning the QR code or giving them a call at 763-326-0677. That's 763-326-0677. Did I catch a 7 in there? Or visit their website, aarondages.supremelending.com. That's AARONDAEGES.supremelending.com. This podcast is brought to you by my brother from another mother, my tournament partner, and the best rod builder north of the equator that still has 20/20 vision, Veselka Fishing and Customs, specializing in custom fishing rods. Your custom rod, the way you want it, because it has to be your rod. However, he has a wide variety to choose from, including his all-new for 2023 custom chicken rod. If you throw the big fluff, the hairy Gary, the rotisserie dissery, the half-ounce Palomalu, the 3/4-ounce rooster biscuit, the lightener looking like D. Snyder, you're going to want to be throwing the Veselka Fishing Chicken Special Big Hair Jig Rod. Mr. Veselka spent a lot of time on this rod, and it has the perfect action to throw, hook, and land those fish that you maybe pulled the bait out from because the rod was too stiff, or had them spit it because your rod didn't have the backbone. Well, the new Chicken Special from Veselka Fishing and Customs has worked to solve both of those issues, along with superior balance and quality components. So head on over to his website, veselkafishing.com. That's VOCELKA fishing.com. pick this rod up before it's too late, because up here in the North Country, they about to be schooling. Coontail, to your point, I just thought about this way. You made me think about it this way. That coontail isn't straight up anymore, right? So
Correct.
if you've got a sustained wind, let's say from the west or the north or the south, you know, the coontail's not going to be straight up and down, but it's going to be the leaning tower of Pisa.
It's an umbrella.
This way, this way, or this way. And the largemouth, it's funny because I didn't think about it like that. But the largemouth, I catch them on the backwind side of a lot of stuff. Yep. And if you graph them, you'll see them gills are blown over.
Nice catch.
Thank you. On the backwind side of like those structures and stuff. And it makes a lot of sense because guess what? They got a little...
Yep.
Almost did it again. They got a little thing.
The shadow.
Well, shadow. They've got an ambush point. Yeah. They've got something over their head.
That's exactly what it is.
So they might be...
That's wild.
So it's angled, and they're tucked up underneath.
And it can be 20 feet of water and it's angled.
But then you got to think, can you reach them? I mean, some people are going to just go ahead and drop the jig right on that edge. They're going to figure it out. But if you try and drag a crankbait on the outside edge of a coontail patch and it's bent over like this, are you dragging it on the edge or are you dragging it 20 feet off the edge or 30 feet, depending on how tall the coontail is?
Right.
Because you're probably dragging it way off the edge. And
well, that's 20 feet up, so how far does it move one way or the other, to your point?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, on the flip side, if it's blowing the other way, and you know for whatever reason they're on the front side, now they're really accessible.
Yeah.
So, but the thing is, almost always, if it's bent over, they're going to be on the canopy. It's a lean-to for them to hide in. Mm-hmm. So they're going to be down underneath there. So, for me, with coontail especially, it's like, why even waste my time? If I throw a crankbait or a big swim bait or drag a jig off the outside edge and it's leaned over like this, it's all the way over here. I just wasted 20 minutes, especially on Tonka. You can't waste a damn second. Yeah. You got to get on the juice. Ask him, ask Felix, ask Fighter, ask Figgy, ask Cunningham right now, ask Lucas Neal, name your freaking guy out on Tonka. They'll all tell you the same thing. If you're not on the juice, you're wasting all your time.
I mean, I'd rather eat my franken beans in the shade than in the sun.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting. I learned something in Florida fishing eelgrass, which is a very shallow, like, flexible version of what we're talking about right now.
Very much so.
That stuff's nasty.
But, yeah, it is nasty, but they're, like, once you learn that it mats over this way, and you just got to get downwind from it and throw upwind, all of a sudden, Happy Swim Jig is clean. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean?
Happy Swim Jig's clean, and it's getting bit, too.
Yes. Yep. And I'd be curious, like we mentioned a crankbait, which maybe it's a good example, maybe it's a bad example. For me, with coontail and crankbaits, I can't get it down in. It's always an on top of the coontail deal, ripping it and getting it. Kind of making bites on top of the coontail. But
I got other pieces of juice that I'm not going to reveal here that you can use to do that exact same thing.
That heavy swim jig we were talking about.
That's a good idea, too.
Sitting downwind of the coon, throwing upwind of the coon, dragging it through that leaning tower of Pisa coon.
You're in business
tail
now.
Might be the thing.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
The problem with the new weed is the magwort's out.
The problem with the new weed is it's so strong. And these kids
I was waiting for that comment.
Yeah, you can't rip it.
It's true though.
You can't slap it off. It's just that eelgrass sucks.
Well, and Mark and I were talking about the magwort, and it's like he's like, nah, it's not really it. That was like a milfoil thing because you could get it down into the foil and then rivet. And coontail is too crispy.
It's
so
too crispy for a crankbait.
So is the eelgrass. You can't rip it. You can't break it.
But there is other things you can do to rip it out of there.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, jigworm's the old staple. Starting to elaborate on that. There's a lot of jigs that have come out over the years that have different heads. A lot of jigs out there that have different profiles, different hooks. You wouldn't think a hook would matter, but sometimes that hook matters. The angle, the size, all that stuff. So you start ripping stuff out of grass, you start experimenting, you change the size of the head, shape of the head, you're going to see some different stuff happen. You're going to see some fish react to it.
For sure. But
like he's saying, that crankbait went away. Yeah. So now how do you still create that reaction and trigger that, I'm not going to say what specifically because I don't want everyone to go and do it on Tonka.
A bellows gill goes right through it.
It comes out clean, but that's not so much reaction.
No.
Some of the other things we sell a lot of these things in the shop. So if somebody wants to know exactly, they can come in the shop and pick it up.
I don't know how nobody doesn't want to come in and talk to you guys after this. But
last year at this time, the bite on Tonka was flipping a 3/4 1 ounce jig out in 15, 18, 20 feet of water. So if you knew the rock pile was there, even though you had the coontail on top, they were flipping it just like flipping a jig deep into those rocks, and they were catching them last year. So rock pile, I mean, I have 50, 60 rock piles marked on Tonka, and I'm sure that's only half.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
At least.
And you can't touch one of them now with a crankbait. You just can't do it.
Covered in coontail.
Covered in coontail. So you got to figure out another way.
Right.
I fish a roller jig, and I fish a roller jig a lot in coontail. And people go, you're crazy. Well,
you fish on braid, which it makes more sense.
You talk to Tony Capron. He went out with me a couple of times, and he says nobody throws a roller jig like you do. I've just learned it a different way.
Yeah.
And I catch them. I mean, I really catch them.
I'd love to just watch that for an hour.
He's been with me.
What's it like? Well, how is it different, Ross? Like, what?
Because he throws it in areas that I'm like, why are you throwing that there? You're never gonna catch a fish throwing a football jig where you're throwing it.
And then mid-sentence, he gets cut off by a hook set from Jay.
Yeah. No, it's like it's where he's throwing it and how he's throwing it. It's like I never in a million years would have done that ever.
Huh.
And you don't get to see that until you actually fish with him.
Yeah. I got one thing like that on Tonka, but it's probably not even Jay Carlson cool. But it's weird how that works, though, where you can have... I've had this experience with Tony Hatton. I think on the opposite side of the spectrum, as you more of the finesse jig spectrum, where he would take a 3/8 ounce football jig, and Tony Hatton is a great jig fisherman, and he'll throw it up on the grass, and I'm like, "What are you doing?" Like,
it's gonna get hung up. It'll never work.
No. And he just holds that rod in the perfect spot. And like a lot of guys, I'm guessing it's a heavier situation, reactionary situation with the football jig and what it does and how it bounces off cover. Well, Hatton is using that same principle, but on the lighter side.
Yeah.
Right? And getting that bait to scoot on the grass and he'll look like he's just effortlessly doing it. And I guarantee there's not a guy who could stand in a boat and do exactly what he's doing with that thing. And you talking about Jay doing that just made me think of that. But it's weird. I'm trying to think about how, like, a jig is that way. A jig is such a versatile, magical art form that way. And in how many different ways you can fish it, the head design, the line angle, how deep you're throwing it, where you're holding your rod on a swim jig or a jig, to me, is one of the most underlooked at, understood things when it comes to a jig, because I've seen it make just a world of difference.
I tell you a little trick that we kind of learned out there also with this coontail is a 7-10 inch worm on a 5 or 6 aught hook, no weight, and you throw it out deep, and it lays on top of the coontail, and you kind of drag it through. It doesn't fall through because there's no weight. But the key is, a lot of times when you catch your coontail, you're catching it on the top of the hook, the top of the worm, or the knot. And as soon as you grab it, you got to reel it in.
Right.
So you take a bead, pretty good sized round bead in front of it, and it slides right around it. It won't grab on. So you can get it to slide around wood or even that heavy weed, and it won't grab on. It'll slide through it.
So that bead like offers a deflector.
Exactly.
Kind of that little eye guard deal.
That eye guard is the deal, though.
Do the same thing on a frog. I put
Yeah.
a bead in front of a frog when I'm throwing pencil reeds.
You try the eye guard?
No, I have not.
Stubborn old bastard. Just kidding.
Damn it,
I'm
Jay.
just kidding.
It works.
Damn it, Jay.
But pencil reeds, pencil reeds are a pain.
That eye guard
Yeah,
works.
everything.
Yeah,
so
you
when
get
you
some
go the
blunt
round
in them.
bead, it'll
You
come
try
around
that
it.
eye guard yet?
Well, like
Okay,
with
good.
the,
I at least converted one.
that eye guard's
We
the deal.
converted one.
But there's something to be said about like with that hollow point. That Gambler makes that hollow point, and
Those are
like
good
you
too.
put that on a front of a Senko that's got that blunt tip. Jay just probably rigs it backwards like a
gotta
smart
get
person
those.
would, but but I put that Gambler hollow point on, and you can get that Senko through 5 times as many things as you used to be able to.
Yeah.
Or that eye guard on a swim jig, it's amazing.
The eye guard does work on everything.
You guys sell a bunch of those at least?
Not as much as we need to.
I'd have them on the counter
Oh,
by the shelf as like the
but
we
that
keep 'em
electric
low.
piece of candy. You
They're-
buy.
We
they're
keep them
low
low
and
so you
high.
can always buy them.
I will always buy them, but
Yeah.
that's honestly a secret I'm happy to share. And I think honestly, I just think it makes everybody's experience in those types of conditions better. So
That shit is
I honestly,
juice.
that's one of the things I don't know if it's a difference maker enough to win you a tournament, but I think it'd make everybody's time on the water more enjoyable if you're in the shit.
I don't think it's going to make you win more tournaments overall, but I will say this. I do think that anything that makes you more efficient,
It's
It's
an
a,
advantage.
it's a key. It's
an
a deal.
advantage.
it will give you an
100%.
advantage long term.
Yeah.
I mean, I tried it at State at Leech, and it was a freaking difference maker. I mean, I didn't catch my fish primarily on a frog, but I rolled a lot of fish on frogs, and even being able to burn that frog back to the boat once you see one and have it come clean because of that eye guard. I mean, how many times have you tried to get a frog back and it hangs up immediately?
Yeah.
Well, almost every time when you're trying to get it back quick, it burns. You burn it into a stock of rice and it's done. That thing comes out clean every time.
It does, and I've got my own juicy little secrets that I will never tell to a soul on this podcast, and so help me God, but that's one that is a secret, and I'll be honest, I don't like...
We're here to teach and share.
That is one that I
Yeah.
think everybody needs in their arsenal, because I think it truly... Like, there's a time and a place where you want it
If
on
it
your
gives
bait,
me
on
one
your
more
jig,
cast a
on your
day,
text.
I will take it.
Well, Carolina rig, on a Carolina rig with that weight and bead hanging in, especially on Tonka, where shit's just getting beat up,
It's getting banged around.
that's the worst thing to retie in the boat. We can all attest to that. The worst thing to retie in a boat is probably a Carolina rig.
Drop shot's no fun either.
Well, Jay just doesn't like drop
Tie a
shots.
big
That's
long
not
leader.
fair.
God. What a pain.
But there's so many little tweaks like that to make baits run better, to make baits work better, and what I like about you guys is you got them in the shop, dude. Like, and you listen to me. Like when I'm like, "Hey, that decoy eye guard, nobody carries that." Next thing you know, you guys are like, "Yo, we got it on the shelf." So like,
We do trust your opinion quite a bit.
but
You have the track record to prove it, regardless of how modest you are. You've won a lot of money and done fairly well as a tournament angler. So
it's a beautiful sport because I feel like I have so much to learn, and I appreciate that. So thank you.
Of course, man.
And I have so much respect for all of you and so many anglers out there, and I just feel like I have so much to learn. And don't we all? It's a sport that you never stop learning.
Never. Every day I go
Jake's
on the
throwing
water.
a damn bellows gill, for fuck's sake.
Yeah, I mean, what the hell's wrong with me?
Well, you're
Jesus.
learning.
I am
You were
learning.
talking about it yourself.
Every single
About
time
Charlie
I go
teaching you
fishing,
stuff.
I want to learn something.
Hell yeah.
Every single time. I mean, I'm old. I'm
Yeah.
dirt, man. I'm up to here in dirt. But I keep going.
Yeah.
And I go out in the water and I learn something every day, whether it's a new tackle, a new line, a new whatever.
but you also teach us a shitload. Like
I try.
Jay,
I try.
Jay has, even this year, Jay has taught me a lot.
Dude, I can't imagine standing with this guy in a tackle shop all day.
Out of nowhere,
like
he'll
Ross
just say
is just
something and
holding
it's
them
like-
cards in his back pocket. Ross is just soaking it in.
He will tell stories from like 25 years ago, and I'm looking at him like, there's no fucking way this happened. And he's like, dead serious, ask so-and-so. I'll go and double check, and they're like, oh yeah, that happened, Jay did that. And I'm like, You gotta be fucking serious. Jay did that,
What's the wildest Jay story you got?
Man.
From their mouths. From their mouths.
Fuck. That's so tough.
It's got to be fishing related.
No, it does not. No, it does not.
I know.
What do you know?
Ross probably has the best ones. He's known Jay.
How you
well.
got fired?
How I got fired?
The first time.
I actually heard a rumor about this. Go ahead, Ross.
What company was that?
From Capra's.
Oh.
The first time he got fired.
I worked at Capra's.
You play with the mob. You're playing with fire. You play with the mob.
You die from the king of the mob. It would be Dean.
Dean would like this story.
Dean, you know what?
There might be a way into the mob, but there's not a way out of it.
No. Dean and I, we go way back. I mean, way back. And we've had our ups and downs, But him and I fished a tournament. We won it. And there was another tournament that following Saturday. And Dean says, you cannot fish this spot on Saturday. I say, what do you mean? I'm part of this, I says, I made a deal with him. I says, I won't fish that spot till 10 o'clock. You can have it all morning long. I showed up on that spot exactly 10 o'clock. Here come Dean around the corner, wide open, cruises off the front of my bow about 5 feet. I mean, if I have enough to soak me, Effenheimers, on he went. I'm like, and the guy with me goes, what the hell was that about? I'm like, nah, not supposed to fish this spot. I go, it's 10 o'clock, so I told him I was going to be here. I worked for Dean at that time.
Yeah.
I walked into the store, and Jerry, who was an employee, looked at me. He says, I probably wouldn't show up for work anymore. So Dean had released my duties because I fished one of his spots on Lake Minnetonka. Yeah.
You got fired by Capra for
fishing one of his spots. So then after that, there was a lot of...
Have you ever been fired for fishing a spot?
No.
Nobody has. Besides Jay.
What?
But I did put some bottles out on the lake. Capra spot. And I just put them around the lake. I don't think they ever knew I did that, but I did.
Actually?
Yeah.
Oh, that was you?
Yeah, I put a few out there.
For the record, this was all before me and Ross's time. So
Yeah.
we weren't around.
Punch the mob.
We
The
weren't
mob
born
might.
then.
The mob
But
might.
I did-
Mob might punch
I doubt
back.
it.
But after
what
years...
year was this?
I don't know. When I was young.
So we weren't even born.
Yeah,
But
we weren't born.
probably, maybe. Probably
Okay.
not. But
Okay,
anyway,
okay.
but I did go back.
There is a white elephant in the room that we just need to let out of the bag.
Oh, no.
This
Willy?
this mob, this Minnesota tournament bass fishing mob, that the elusive, rumored mob
It don't
in the state
exist
of
anymore.
Minnesota. Well, yeah, they fired one of the henchmen.
It's true.
It's true. Yeah, there was, I don't know. Well, yeah, maybe it was a mob.
I guess
It was the mafia. Let's be honest.
I've never fucked with the mob before, so but what better time than now?
I fished Tonka. This is before I got in the mob. I was on Prior Lake, and there was a father-son tournament on Prior Lake, and I think it was for a boat, actually, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, Shane was there with Mark. Dean was there with Ted fishing, and I was on the lake because I won everything on Prior. I mean, everything. And I went up to Ted. I says, Ted, you want to win this tournament? I says, I can guarantee it.
Did they nickname you Richard Pryor?
No, not that I know of.
I probably should have.
But
Missed opportunity.
Yeah, for sure.
I told Ted about this 2 spots that you will win the tournament. Well, they won the tournament. And that's kind of how it all started with Ted, because Ted took me basically by the hand, brought me to the store, and says, you take $500 worth of whatever you want.
Really?
So that was my payment to
That
help
was
me
how
now.
it started.
That's kind of how it started.
That's how he got into the mob.
I was trusted then. To
right.
me.
You got through initiation of the mob, so to speak.
So then I started fishing with Mark.
Yep.
And Shane a little bit. Shane and I did a lot of the Fort Francis tournaments and some of the stuff around Prior because he lived down there too. And that's kind of how it all started. So it was kind of a give and take,
Of course.
But
the mob gives nothing. The mob takes nothing.
Yeah. But I learned down the road that there was a lot more giving than getting. So I was backpedaling to get out, and I found out once I got out of that thing, I was actually doing pretty good. You know, I won a boat or two, and I was doing my thing and fishing very, very well. I mean, we're still friends. I still fish with Mark a lot, but
for sure,
it wasn't really
good. They
a
didn't
team
kill
thing.
your whole family.
I know it. Well, they're all pretty much gone anyway. But
All right. Well, so you started to feel like a slave to the mob. That's what you're saying.
And not really. It just, I don't know. It's hard to
It's
win.
a hard dynamic too.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't know how you do something like the mob doesn't operate without hard feelings.
No.
Yeah.
No, you're right. You
on all accounts.
You go to bed with them, you know, you got to lay there.
That's right.
That's just the way it is.
That's right.
I mean, I saw Dean and Shane, they were fishing, it might have been a Silverado, whatever. And Shane was sacked up. I mean, he had this thing in the bag. And Dean come wheeling around the corner and gets DQ'd for flying into a no wake too fast, and the DNR was right there and DQ'd him.
Was that the one where Seth won the boat?
No, Dean won the boat. Or, I mean, Shane won the boat. Okay?
Because Dean got DQ'd when Seth won the boat too.
Well, this one, they would have taken first and second. All right?
Yep.
And then Shane says, well, why would I want to split my prize when he got DQ'd? He shouldn't be any part of that. And I don't really know what happened after that, and that's kind of the last I heard about that situation. But I can see where you're at. I mean, why would you want to split with somebody who's not bringing anything to the plate? You know what I mean?
Well, maybe he had a sack. He just ran no wake.
Well, he had a sack too. Dean did.
That's what I'm saying. Like he's just.
Yeah. So that's kind of the last.
So that was
thing.
The end of the. Was that
for me?
For you?
Yeah.
Because were you fishing with Dean or Shane that day, or neither?
I wasn't fishing that day.
Okay.
Okay. I wasn't in that one. So.
But they broke up, so that kind of meant you were.
Yeah,
out
that
a
was
little bit.
kind of a rough thing. But I mean, I think they still moved on after that, and they were still doing their thing. And it was all the prize money went into one pot at the end of the year. It got split. And that's kind of what happened.
So there was kind of divisions of this mob. There's kind of two families of mob bosses, so to speak, the Cappers and the Rattlings, right?
Yep.
So
I was an outsider.
Were you? But you fished with Mark, so were you more so, in the Rattling mob than the Capper mob? And then
Yep.
Okay, and then that kind of evolved, and that mob broke up, and then Dean fired you after that, or at what point? When did Dean fire you in the mob? In the evolution of the mob.
That was after.
After, okay,
Yeah,
later
after.
in life.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, but true fact. It happens. But I did go back.
So there's no bass tournament mafia that exists today that you know of?
We don't speak of it.
Not that I know of, to be honest with you.
Sure. And see, I've heard about the Wasika Mafia. You got, Noah Schultz, Walker Krampitz, and Tim Schroeder, but I think that's a different kind of mafia. They're pretty every man for themselves, but I call them the Wasika Mafia.
But they help each other.
For sure. I'll never tell them any of my family members' names just out of safety.
The only mafia we know of is the Milfoil
The Milfoil Mafia, yeah.
And we're friends with all those guys. Those guys come in and shop all the time. But that's
Mr. Plouffe?
Ryan Plouffe, Bat Plouffe, Jeff Almanza.
Great dude.
Dan Jensen, a bunch of other guys in that club. Just good. They come in and shop all the time. They're good dudes.
I know Ryan pretty well. He's good
Ryan's.
shit.
I fished with Ryan at State. He's a great dude.
Yeah, great dude. One of the nicest dudes you'll ever meet. Yeah.
But
Dude, that's so cool.
Other than that, I mean, no official mafias. I know of several alliances, if you will, but nobody's out here.
Nobody's splitting anymore?
I would have no problem splitting with somebody, because more brains are better than one brain.
I'll fucking split with you any day, Jay.
Well, it's just the thing is, what I found, because I've done it with other people.
I never split with nobody, but
he'd be a good split.
Yeah, that's
we'd have fun.
Yeah,
but I've done it with other
some
people.
hair jigs. You just weight me some DTs. We'll call it good.
Well, we got to get the football too, though. That's number one. Yeah.
Yes, please.
What's your favorite football jig?
Man,
brand.
The all-terrain tackle football jig in Moyna's Magic. I mean,
My number one.
You just can't beat it.
You can't.
You just can't.
I will
beat
throw a
it.
little watermelon red, but Moina Magic's it.
Okay, you go a little Novak on them. I
Yeah.
like it. I like it. Moina's Magic. I mean, green pumpkin and purple. I mean, might as well call that peanut butter and jelly because
It's
they go
magic.
great together.
Oh man.
I like that color on anything. And
Everywhere
I
I
noticed that
go.
little gill you got had a little green pumpkin and purple. They call that
AJ.
AJ Junior's juice.
Yeah, baby. Named it after me.
I like that Bella Shad on a sea rig. Kind of just, I said it out loud.
I can't believe you just said that out loud.
But
There's
I
a
don't
lot of
like it
people
on a
who-
regular hook. So I'm wondering, do you sea rig with a screw lock?
I don't see rig.
You don't? No,
I
yeah.
don't see rig.
Good.
I
See,
refuse.
when I Carolina rig a bellows scale, it's the 5.8, the big one.
Big one.
Yeah,
What size weight do you sea rig that on?
3/4.
3/4?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
There's
I
a
feel
lot-
like you
there's a
need a
lot of-
3/4 for
Yeah.
a big one.
You do.
Yeah.
There's a lot of guys flipping that big thing now too.
The big?
The big one. A lot of guys are
Sea
flipping that
rigs.
thing.
You guys need to invent like the gill weight for flipping that thing to make it come through grass better or something.
I'm gonna come up with the chatterbait weight. That's what I'm gonna come
You
up
put that thing on a chatterwagon yet there, Jay?
with. No,
No.
not that I know of.
You shouldn't have said that out loud.
Well, we've got an exclusive G-Crack color coming out.
Yeah, we do.
Probably in 2024. So.
Yep. Just
Okay.
Waypoint color for G-Crack.
What are you calling it? Tonka Dawn?
No.
Tonka
Decided on the
Magic?
name, have we yet?
Tonka
Gas special,
Mutilator?
something.
No, it's not my freaking jig. Or my
Jay's
color.
Juice?
If
Not
anyone-
AJ's
Jay's Juice
Juice,
would be
but
good.
Jay's Juice?
If
That would be
anything, it
good.
should be Jay's Juice. 'Cause
Yeah.
Jay throws that bellows more than any of us.
Yep.
Willie's Weed? Whatever. Like,
Willie's wee wee.
no, that's the new poop bait.
Oh, the mother clucker.
Or no, the,
Is it like a
I think we need to change the poop
Pink
bait.
poop
Like,
bait?
create a cock bait. Willie's Wanka, we'll call it. We'll call it Willie's Wanka.
The vibrating toy. Yeah, baby.
Christ, Jay?
There's been some weird baits that have come out over the years. Like that, I remember I have this old VHS tape with Bill Dance and Larry Nixon, and it's like the sound bite advantage, and it's this jig that makes like the Livingston noise or whatever, probably like way back in the way day. Mm-hmm. We had ourselves the banjo minnow, but Jay, I bet you can probably remember more
I still
gimmicks
got
than
'em.
we can forget.
The flying lure was the shit. Don't you remember the flying lure?
No.
You'd pitch it at a dock and just drop it in front of the dock, and it would swim backwards. It would swim under the dock.
The old backslide.
Oh, dude. It caught fish, and then they quit making it.
Wasn't that backslide like a Berkeley thing?
Yeah, Mike Iconelli.
Freaking Ike with all
Same
his
same
gimmicks.
thing. Yeah.
When did the flying lure come out?
Oh, I don't know.
80s?
Probably when I was 30.
Okay, and you.
I'm 62.
Late
30
80s.
years. Yeah.
Late 80s.
That'd be about
Early
right.
90s. Yeah. Nirvana is probably on their second
Banjo
album.
Minnow was in there.
Yeah, that
Wait,
I
they-
remember seeing that on TV. I'm like, that thing looks real. I need that.
Everybody
Mom.
did, and everybody
Mom.
bought it.
Mom, it's 1999, and they're gonna throw in an extra set of banjos if we call in the next hour. Mom.
You remember the first time you ever fished? How old you were and what you did?
Yeah,
Do you?
I think so.
I remember like it was the back of my hand. I was like 6 years old. Seriously.
Okay.
We lived on the lake. My grandma would put me in the boat, and she'd push the boat offshore and tell me to drop the anchor. So I dropped the anchor, and I could probably in a foot of water. And she had an anchor on shore, so she could pull me in. And I would sit out there all day with a cane pole and catch bluegill. I remember that like it was yesterday.
That's crazy.
I don't know what I did yesterday, but I remember that.
Isn't that weird how like short-term memory and long-term memory are different? I'm more of a long-term memory
Yeah.
than a short-term memory.
I can remember every big rock I caught a big fish on Tonka.
Damn.
I mean, I
can't.
really can.
I just haven't caught that many big fish,
Yeah.
so I should remember everyone. But
It's amazing when you can remember on big fish.
is there a lure that you like? Do you remember the first lure you got hooked on, Ross? Like bass fishing, like when you were a kid?
Wacky rig, yeah.
Wacky rig.
Really?
Andy Walls and I were talking about this.
Cinco?
Morning dawn.
For me, I started with a spinner belgy, spinnerbait.
What year was this?
In the pencil reeds catching pike.
Yep.
Up on Lake Winnebagoshus on Grandpa's camping trips, and
that's
then
late. to the
Good
party.
bass lake, and people don't even know it.
I wasn't gonna say it, and I've heard that, but I wasn't gonna say it. Yeah, I've heard that. Yeah.
You remember, Sand Lake, Cutfoot Sioux, that's all up in there?
Yep.
That river system. Oops. I've caught so many 5-pounders in there. You couldn't imagine how many are in there, and nobody fishes that. Nobody.
Isn't that
They
something?
don't even know what a bass is up there. It's a carp, green carp.
And see, then I went home, and I grew up on the horseshoe chain. I remember my mom would give me a walkie-talkie, two-way radio, send me out on the paddle boat, and I grew up and I'd have to check in with her every couple hours, and I'd paddle around. And I grew up on East Lake on the horseshoe chain, which is a flooded farmer's field, so the whole deepest part in the lake's 5 feet of water. So I learned how to throw a buzzbait, and then read about different stuff, and it was kind of the rest was history. But a spinnerbait and a buzzbait for me. Wacky rig for you, eh? Where were you throw? Do you remember where you first threw it?
Up at our cabin it was on Roy Lake in Nisswa. Yep.
How much do you throw a wacky rig now, Ross? Would you say?
90% of the time.
Really?
Way too much.
It's still your deal.
Oh yeah.
Way too much.
See, that's the first guy I've heard say that's still my deal, baby.
Oh, I won a lot of money on a weightless,
Oh, it's an amazing technique.
especially in the spring.
Man, it's a good. I love a wacky Senka.
Yep.
Yeah. Do you have you develop a magical bond with baits you like, right? And a size, a color, is it the 4-inch or the 5-inch for you?
5-inch for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, 5-inch for sure.
Gotcha. See, I heard 4, 5, 6, I actually really like a 6-inch Senka Texas rigged, fishing it behind guys like Jay, which you got to wait 5 hours for him to get done fishing the mat from the sounds of it. But
Yeah, pretty much.
that was always something that I really liked to throw behind people, in the stuff was that bigger Senka on a bait caster. But
I was in a tournament on whitefish chain, and these guys were in front of us flipping docks in this back bay, and my partner and I went behind them with a frog and won the frickin' tournament
On
Fish
docks?
on docks.
what is the deal with that?
I don't know. That's the only time I can ever remember really whacking them on a dock. No weeds, nothing, just under the dock.
I've talked to guys like Connor Graham before, and
I know
that's a
him,
dude
yeah.
who throws a frog under dock, and I'm like, why? And
Ask Chappie
how?
about it.
Chappie's seen that?
Oh my god.
I bet he forgot already.
And
He's
they
too
wreck
drunk.
it. They wreck it. There ain't no sipping it. They wreck it. And these guys were pitching a jig on every one of these docks and never caught a fish. We were right behind them, like 2 docks behind them.
You think those fish just want to eat up? Or
They were probably up, right up under the boats, I suppose.
well, my buddy Johnston Westmoreland, he likes to skip a chatterwagon under docks, banging off a post, and he feels he gets reaction bites doing that. I've done that before, but it's like, geez, you got a chatterwagon, a frog, a jig, a Senko, a Texas rig. How many things do you want to throw on a fucking dock every day
You
to
ever
figure
throw a
out how you want to
squarebill?
fish them? No, but I really want to octophoe some squarebill and bass on a dock. That sounds like a blast because I love a squarebill bite.
They absolutely crush it if you can get it in there right. You can't skip it with it, but if you can get some tight roll casts and get it close underneath, bang it off a few posts, you're gonna see some shit you never seen before.
Well, I
Hands
remember
down.
the first podcast we ever recorded, Sobe was talking about the first time he fished with Kyle Welcher
Okay.
down on Chickamauga. And he said
that
the
guy's a
places that Kyle Welcher was putting a DT6 was something he'd never seen before in his life. And I guess from what Sobe was telling me, that Welcher was skipping a DT6 into bushes on Lake Chickamauga, and I'm like roll cast, flip pit, skip pitch, backhand, any way he wanted. And I'm like, man, I've never felt like I sucked at bass fishing more than after this conversation right now, because I don't know a damn soul who can skip a fucking crankbait.
It works pretty well if you change out the hooks to a single hook. Then you don't get snagged up hardly at all.
But how do you, that's what I'm curious, getting that putting a crankbait where it hasn't been put before, and I've played with drilling them out and filling them with water to get them to go deeper, and that was something that I played with a lot on Tonka, and I actually caught a big fish doing it, but I couldn't replicate it around the lake. Yeah. But that would be an example of putting a crankbait where it hasn't been put on the deep side of the scale, right? But then how do you put a crankbait under a dock up into a bush? How do you get it to on the water?
I can't skip one like Welcher can. I remember you hearing that story because I've been listening since the beginning of these podcasts, and I remember Sobe telling that story. But it's a lot of pitching. It's a lot of practice. It's a lot of little roll casts. Your whichever wrist you pitch with, you got to get a lot of repetition in because you're going to be feathering it with your thumb. That's the trick there is like you make a pitch flip like that, and then your thumb's going to be on that spool. Because if you can, the other thing is you got to have it pretty calm. You can't do it when there's wind.
That makes sense.
Because you're gonna, your trebles are gonna probably catch on the waves, and then it definitely won't skip. But then, if it's flat calm, and you pitch under there and try and skip it, which I've come close to skipping it, but I can't welch or skip it. But I can pitch it underneath. Use like the dock rim or the dock edge as a pendulum to get it under there. You can do that just fine, but you're still going to be, feathering it with your thumb while you're making the pitch because you got to make sure you don't hit a post or hit a pontoon or say there's a cable hanging down. You got to make sure you feather it in there.
Right.
So it's just training your thumb at that point. Like how can you get your wrist and your thumb to coordinate with each other?
Well, I think about it makes sense when you say it like that, like on a pitch cast, a DT, right? A DT6 has got that reverse angle. If you can keep that bait on its back,
yeah,
that blade almost acts as a ski, I feel like.
Yeah.
Is that the business? Is that how they're doing it?
Yeah, you got to get it out of its back.
Yeah, I was going to try a 6.6 medium spinning pole with some braid to a leader and try to do it that way, but
you're good enough to skip with a baitcaster. You'll be able to do it.
Yeah, a jig with like a flat trailer or
but
I'm not that good, dude.
I think you're better than you probably give yourself credit for.
Just need practice with it.
It's just
probably.
time.
Yeah.
It's just time and repetition.
You know Sam Sobey pretty well?
Yeah, he's a great dude.
You know the first guy who ever took him fishing? That would be me.
Are you serious?
He was my neighbor.
No shit.
When he was growing up.
I feel like he might have told me that, actually.
I took him to Lake O'Dowd, him and his buddy, in
That's
the neighborhood.
Why he's so good.
and they both caught 5-pounders.
Hooked. Yeah.
And I made big photos from them that night, and we're sitting around the campfire, and I brought them their photos, and yeah, they were done after that.
Was he as enthusiastic back then as he is now? Or was he quieter and more shy?
He was quieter.
More shy.
But you could, taking them out on the water, they were fishing a frog, you just know who has it.
Yep.
And he had it.
I will say this till the day I die. People will give YouTubers shit, but I fished with Sam Sobey. That dude's a hammer.
He's legit.
Yeah, dude.
I've known Sobey since fisherman. We were 18. He's legit.
He's a good fisherman. Yep. I won't ever take that away from that guy.
I mean, Jay's known him since he was little pup, obviously, but I've been fortunate to know Sobey since we were 18 when he was just Sam. Ask Connor Graham about Sam when Sam wasn't Sobey, he was just Sam. Yeah. But we'd go up to Connor Graham's cabin and he'd have us up there. Especially our freshman year of college, he had us up there. We just screwed around and, hung out at the cabin and fished every day. That kid's been obsessed since I've known him.
Yeah.
That's what he does, is bass fish or chase other types of fish.
I hope I was one of the influencers for that kid.
I think you were. I bet he'd say that.
He's a good kid.
I think he has said that to me before. I can't remember if it was on the podcast or not, but he said that before. Yeah. But so this thing you guys got going on is pretty cool. And I think there's a lot of people in the state of Minnesota who've seen that, and hopefully they've stopped by or at least checked you out. But this kind of started with a little bit of a dream. Ross, you mentioned like when you go to sleep at night, you think about stock and tackle. And I was actually thinking about this today, like, man, I used to stock grocery shelves and it sucked, but I just imagine if those were all fishing lures. And but I guess my question is this: there's a little bit of a dream or in the American spirit of life in this country we live in. I guess, what's the long-term dream, or what's the big vision, and where's Waypoint going? And I guess we're in the galaxy, so all rules of law and physics aside, what's the big dream with Waypoint? And I guess ideally, if you could see yourself owning a tackle shop 20 years from now, what does that look like?
We want to be Minnesota's #1 premier destination. I mean, we want to be what we are now, but bigger and better, and
multiple stores.
Maybe
hopefully.
multiple stores. Maybe we get more square footage. We just want to take what we've already done and amp it up. I mean, I think what we've already put together in the very short period of time that we've been open is more than we thought we would have
100%
come up with.
100%.
Yeah.
I mean, this is already...
We are a cool store.
Very cool.
Know, and
one of a kind.
Yeah. People come in there and we don't hear any negative words, and a lot of times you don't. And I can tell anybody, a customer or anybody, if you have any issues whatsoever, just bring it to us. We'll fix it. Don't go bashing, we'll fix it. We're here to help. We're here to be nice. We're here to sell you the best possible thing we can sell you, and we'll show you how to use it. Hell, I'll take them fishing. Just because.
But our #1 reaction we get when people walk in the door, we're sitting at the dock, and our #1 reaction we get when somebody new that hasn't been there walks in is wow. That they stop and they look up and they go, wow.
Yeah.
That's what we get every day.
Yeah. All the time.
Wow.
This is really nice.
That was my reaction.
And then it's backed up by guys like Jay and Erik and Koo and Charlie and Kylie and these expert guys and Willy, that he's done a good job on putting our website together and our social media, and it all fits together so perfectly. That
Willy's had a good fishing year this year too.
Willy has hooked me up in ways that I will never even describe on the record.
Yeah.
So, Willy, you know what I'm talking about. Thank you, Willy.
The other thing I'll
never show that to anybody.
Willy, I thought I told you to quit sharing juice with the good guys.
Toby Keith said he'd never smoke weed with Willy again. Well, Toby Keith's a fucking liar.
Sounds like Willy's a liar too.
One goal I kind of have for the store, if it happens, it happens. I'm not going to be around forever. That's obvious. But I really want to put a huge, beautiful, perfect run tournament out of that store.
That'd
good
be
one.
Beautiful.
A good one.
Yeah.
And we're kind of figuring out if we want to go to a pro-am or what do we want to do. But we're going to do it right. We're not going to say nothing until it's set in stone and it's going to be perfect. There ain't going to be none of this 30% off the top. There's going to be none of that bullshit. We're going to give out a prize. We're going to give out a big freaking prize, and it's going to be freaking awesome. I'll find the right person on that lake to give us a venue to run it. Whoever that might be, I don't know.
Back channel brew. Mm-hmm.
Hey, if he had the docking, it'd be great.
I know, yeah, that's what I was saying.
Yeah. But
coughed.
He'll definitely be involved. 100% will be involved.
Yeah, we've worked with them before.
It's a great idea. I just love your guys' passion.
We've given out a lot of free beer at Back Channel.
We have. Or you have.
I got me a beer token from Back Channel.
Beer tokens for like $75 to $100 purchases. We do that all the time.
Yep.
So that's pretty cool.
That's pretty sweet.
The only problem is they never invite us. We don't get it. We pay the tab.
Because you're working.
We pay the tab.
I think there's a lot of things you guys should get to do. Like, we should go fishing, like all kinds of good stuff.
Oh, hell yeah.
That's pretty cool. So grab you a beer, go find you some tackle. Like, you can't beat that. So tournaments in the potential near future. You got a test tank now. Ross, what else? Like, is there anything else you want to see, like, in the shop that's different or cool? I know you guys are bouncing this shit off each other all day.
There's so much stuff we're like working on in our heads. We're looking at drone delivery. We're working at getting a pontoon on the lake, filling it with tackle, driving out with a big waypoint flag and say, flag us down and shoot us a text and we'll come to your boat in our pontoon. You come on the pontoon, you shop in the boat. I mean, there's endless
We're really working on a
we've
drone.
come up with that we want to do.
I do want to mention one thing, because you guys are doing one thing that no one else I've ever seen do it. And I remember my first weed line on Minnetonka where I learned about the motor oil jig worm. And I ran out of them bastards.
Hey, that's a secret.
Yeah, it's not a very
ain't no secret no
yeah,
more.
No. That's so far from a secret now, but
we sell so much.
and I'm
of
like,
that.
I need more, and I can't get them, or chartreuse heads, or whatever it is. And if I would have had an option to make a phone call or put in an order and go pick that stuff up from the landing, you guys are literally delivering tackle to Minnetonka boat ramps.
Yep.
Every weekend,
Like,
at least. A lot of times
We
during the
deliver
week.
it to
every weekend?
Yep.
Yeah, we deliver it to Fletcher's. Well, whatever's close by, or whatever bay you're at, we'll get it there. And if
In what dimension, in what galaxy, in what universe can you be fishing on a lake and order tackle and have it delivered to the fucking boat ramp, bud?
Just the
I'm just
Minnetonka
telling you,
galaxy.
that's badass. And I love the way you guys think with that. That's thinking outside the box. That is like,
every
it's never
time,
been done before.
Every time we deliver, they go, "This is the coolest freaking thing I've ever had done in my life. I don't have to get out of my boat, park my boat, none of it." And now, if you're in a tournament, I'll fly that drone right over your freaking head and drop it right in your boat. Seriously, give me 16 DT.
Send us your
We're gonna need a hell of an
waypoints.
insurance policy for that one.
I don't know. I don't chop off anybody's heads. I mean, I might hit a
Yeah,
seagull.
okay.
Just saying. But they got to remember, I do have a camera, so I can get you over
So
your
you can check out tail on the way.
Well, sometimes.
Well, he's got to fly by Lord Fletcher's,
Yeah, I'll do a flyby down the channel of Fletcher's.
Genius. Wow.
Wouldn't that be cool?
Yeah.
Right in your
I'd
boat.
rather fly by than walk there.
We are well covered, if you will.
Yeah.
We know where to look, how to look, why to look, and we'll drop the tackle off on the way.
I like it.
Yeah.
We got it
Big
covered.
Island on 4th of July. Get that drone flying around.
Oh, my God, I could sell a lot of beer.
Yep.
That's a big drone.
So, anyways,
Ross's
Ross,
wife has earmuffs on at this point, hopefully.
I was gonna say, Ross. So next year, you're taking 2 or 3 days off around 4th of July. We're gonna go putt around, have a good time. Yeah, you in? Sarah might not be okay with it, but we're in.
Long line in the bellows gills. I like it.
The bellows gills around Big Island.
Yeah.
We have too much fun.
So fishing style. I remember overhearing a conversation with Ross and Jay where you two were talking about how you kind of have a similar but a little bit different fishing style. And I think what's cool about bass fishing is everybody's kind of, when you get into it, when you get down to it, whether you're Willie, whether you're Jay, whether you're Cole, whether you're Ross, Erik, you develop a set of things that you have confidence in, or a way you like to do things, or a style. And I think we've got a good taste of Jay's style from, talking here, but I haven't, and Erik's style sounds like it's a big bait or it's fluorocarbon and a football jig.
Erik's style is jump up in the front of your boat. He doesn't care whose boat it is.
He's been waiting to tell us.
You don't get your steering wheel back. You don't get the trolling motor back. He's lifting up and down. He's going back and forth all around. You get to sit down and watch because he takes control of your boat.
So
If
Erik's
you're
a
gonna
Somalian pirate.
back-
Is
Well,
what you're
hold
saying.
on,
Back
hold
your
on.
I am
trailer
the
in, head back
captain
to-
now.
Hold on,
I
hold
am
on,
the
hold
captain
on.
now.
He's being real aggressive about this, but he was sitting back there chit-chatting with our buddy Brett, and I just wanted to go fishing. All right? So I got on the front deck and dropped the trolling.
Is this how it is, Ross? I am the captain now.
Yeah, exactly. He even put more accessories in my boat. Like my boat had more items in it when he left
You're welcome for the scissors.
than before I had. So I don't know.
That sounds like, well, at least he...
He leaves presents.
Right. At least he pirated your boat and
I
then
give him free
left some of the
stuff.
treasure.
I give him free stuff, and he's over here complaining.
So
This is normal.
So
by
what
the
I've
way. We
learned
don't
so
mean
far
any
from
of
this
it.
question is that Erik is the Jack Sparrow of bass boats. And I've learned nothing about your fishing style.
Jack
and,
Sparrow.
As your boat's sinking, I'm getting on the dock.
Yes.
Jay and I seem to be, whenever Jay and I fish together, we just seem to be on the same page of where we should be, how we approach it, what angle we go at. Mm-hmm. He'll go to a spot, turn the motor off, and just go fishing. Mm-hmm. We're not scanning for 8 hours. We're not looking around. We just pull up to a spot and start fishing.
Yep. I love that.
Yep.
Yeah.
When I fish with Erik, I don't know what the hell's going on. There's 18 different things. He'll make a cast, he'll reel it in, switch the rod, and all of a sudden he's got a swim bait rod in one hand and a drop shot rod in the other hand. I don't know what the hell he's picking up and putting down.
I do switch rods a lot.
I do
I will
too.
never do 2 rods at once because it's illegal in Minnesota.
Illegal's a
He's
sick
a
bird.
law-abiding citizen, ladies and
then
gentlemen.
he's digging in my rod locker for whatever the hell else I have in there.
He's got fighter jigs with bearer boots on the back.
So you're like one cast with this, one cast with that, 7 rods down. They ain't eating.
Well,
rod, give me your poop. Give me your poop rod.
Jay and I are pretty much, when we go, we got 1 or 2 rods. That's all. We don't want to throw anything else.
This is what we're going to fish today.
2 pieces of shit.
Yep. When
Fish
Erik
arrow and a depths.
When Erik and I go out, we got 36 rods on the deck, and there might be an ice rod in there somewhere because Erik says we need it. Like,
you know, it sucks for
That's
me.
not accurate.
It's overwhelming.
I sound like you make me sound like Erik without an eye patch right now because I'll have 15 of them fuckers out.
Hey, they're going to eat something. You just got to figure out what thing they're going to eat.
For me, it's you have a different rod for a different situation, right? Like you're fishing an area, right? You're pulling up on, let's say you're Ross or Jay and you shut the motor off and you're fishing for a while and you're learning this area. Well, that area's got an outside coontail edge. It's got a thick coontail. It's got an inside coontail edge. It's got a hole in the middle maybe with a hard spot. Well, you're going to attack, to Erik's point on this one, you're going to attack that area different throughout the area based on where in the area you're targeting. And you've seen people like Jacob Wheeler or whoever has come up, and Brian Thrift, Brian New, where you see 15 rods on their deck. I think that's why. I don't think it's because they don't know what they want to throw. However, there's something to be said about knowing what the fuck you want to throw and where you want to throw it and why you want to throw it and why they're going to fucking eat it.
Yeah.
Would you agree?
I agree 100%.
And Ross, would you agree with that?
Yes.
That's why you got 2 rods on the deck, right? Because they're going to eat this or they're going to eat this.
I get really depressed when we go out. We're going to throw this and this, and it doesn't work, and I got to pick up a fairy wand. It just drives me bananas, even though 99% of the people throw a fairy wand and catch fish.
It's a bad day on the water when Jay and I have a
spinning rod in our hand. It's, even though you have to do it, especially on Tonka.
I just got one question for you guys. You own a goddamn tackle shop. How do you pick 2 rods? Which 2 rods do you pick? You own a fucking tackle shop.
A poop and a football gym.
With
you pick what's the most fun for you to catch a fish on.
I love that.
Whatever they're eating.
I don't care what they're eating.
No, they're going to eat. Jay's like, no, they're eating this. They're going to eat this.
He doesn't care what they're eating. Neither do I. I will throw everything until they eat something, and then I will throw that.
Willie told me they're eating Willie's chicken, okay?
Well, then I'm going to throw Willie's chicken.
I'm the same way, but I just change a color. You know?
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yep.
I'll just change a color or maybe a size or something like that. But, you know, if you can go out there and frickin' throttle them on a roller jig.
Yeah, you're going to do it.
Jesus, it's like an orgasm. I mean, it's just.
It really is.
Yep. If
really
I can go smash them on a frog, there is anything out there better than that to me.
Yeah, see, smashing them on a frog's like jerking off in the dark.
Yeah, well.
It's okay. It's pretty good, you know?
Yeah, but you didn't see what happened. No, but it
makes no sense because you can see a frog the whole time you're throwing it, typically.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah.
But I mean, guys go out and throw a drop shot. That's how they're going to catch them, and they love doing it.
I will say, Dane is one of the best drop shot fishermen I've met. He's really good with it to the point where I just let him throw it, and I've had to tell myself to pick up a drop shot over the last 3 years because I always trust him with it. But
Ross and I haven't fished a lot together. I mean, quite a bit, but not a ton. Not like you would your tournament partner.
Sure.
I watch him in a boat. I mean, I'll just sit and watch him. He's got feel like a lot of people don't have. He can sense it more than he can feel it.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird. He just got that sense that it's there.
Well, I have that sense about Ross. I mean, you'll never hear him talk about it.
No.
And
I just lay in the weeds.
Yeah.
I just lay in the weeds.
You do.
He does.
That's what I like about you, though, dude, is you don't need to talk about it. You let your rod do the talking,
Yeah.
dude. And there's a lot to be said about that. But I think you're a better angler than a lot of people understand because of that. And there's a lot of silent killers I know like that who you'll never hear it out of their mouth. You'll never hear a whole lot of anything out of their mouth. But if you watch their rod and you watch what they do with it, that's all you need to know.
Yeah.
I got another person, Willie over here. I fish with Willie quite a bit. He's got a fishbone in him. It's just crazy. And him and I fish a lot alike. We think alike, and we do things a little different, but we really think alike. I mean, him and I fished a lake, and they just didn't do what we needed them to do. And he picked up some freaking fairy wand and destroyed him. So, I mean, it's just, he thinks outside the box when we're in the boat, too.
Was it on them baits he sold me?
Willie's really mad at him.
He
Compared
is.
to anybody that I
He
know,
gets
like-
really mad when he doesn't catch them.
Yep.
Me too.
I mean,
Me
if
too,
he- if he-
Willie.
and if he loses one,
Yeah.
he like angry mad.
Willie's got
Here comes a putter throw.
Yeah, yeah.
He's restrained himself.
Throw the whole bag
Willie's
in
got
the
a
lake.
lot more drive than I've seen in a lot of anglers.
Yeah.
I mean, he's up earlier. He leaves later. He travels farther. I mean,
Oh yeah,
I've noticed that about Willie a lot.
he'll drive 400 miles for a $50 tournament.
Yeah.
It costs him 500 in gas, and he make $120. But god damn it, he won.
Willie, in 3 years, you'll learn that was not a good financial decision, even though you won that bastard, Willie, and we're all proud of you for it.
I've told
But
Willie
in 3 years, you will learn that
Yeah.
the numbers don't make sense. And the numbers don't make sense no matter what, Willie. Like, let's be honest. It's
That's
tournament
true.
bass fishing. The numbers don't make sense.
Dude, if you
Accountants don't fish a lot.
No.
No.
But if
Not
you're
tournaments.
gonna fish a tournament to make money and cash a check, you're in the wrong game. You really
we fish
are.
tournaments because
yeah, you
we want to win and we love it. Like
Right,
that's all there is to
It
it.
happens. It happens. If it don't. That's just the bonus.
Yeah.
I'd rather go to a tournament and have Dean there or Shane there and beat them. That's more pat on my back than it is winning a check.
I agree. And Noah Schultz won his 4th boat this year.
Yep.
And I'm sure there's a lot of people that don't want him to fish anymore.
No,
But guess what, dude?
you beat him. You just
At
did
the
something.
end of the day, like, that's who I want to fish. Like, Noah Schultz makes everybody fishing that tour a better angler.
Absolutely.
I still
When
think
he
he
does
needs to
things
go
like
up a
that.
level. I'm not saying he shouldn't fish your guys'
He
stuff,
has the talent to go up a level,
but he should
you've
be
never
fishing
seen
another
a guy
too.
with 7 kids. 7 kids.
That's
okay?
a lot of kids.
You have 1 kid and they play hockey. That's fucking $400K, bud, over 18 years.
That's true.
Like,
and
he's
that's
got
all year.
And he's got 7 of them.
Yeah, if you want to be good at it, you got to play all
We were talking about this after the championship when he won that boat, and I'm like, dude, call Lord Guinness because I think he's a world record holder. Most tournaments won with the most amount of kids. Tell me one angler in Lord Guinness's book of records who's won more bass tournaments with more kids.
I can't.
That's right, Lord Guinness. We're talking about Noah Schultz. I feel like he's the newest world record holder. And I think that is a world record. I don't know a fucking soul.
We can check it out.
I mean, I know of a lot of pro anglers with like 3 to 4 kids, but none of them have 7.
I mean, there's the
God-
two most
God
fertile
help
men
him.
I know. The 2 most fertile men I know are Johnston Westmoreland and Noah Schultz. And Johnston, he just got different dynamics and whatnot, but there's got to be maybe a Southern Catholic or a Baptist, man. You know.
No,
I feel like Alton Jones maybe had enough kids.
If I asked any of those invitational guys,
he's got like 4
kids,
maybe.
They're like, oh yeah, I've got 2. I've got 3. None of them invitational guys have like 7 kids.
Dude,
None.
that's a world. Like that's got to be a world record.
That's a lot of kids.
Lord Guinness, is that a world record? Like,
we can find out.
Father Guinness.
Yeah.
Like, let's put him in the book. Like,
we got to make a couple phone calls.
Another prize for him.
Lord Guinness. Yes.
Talk some tech. You're a tech guy.
Jay,
You're
you want to
literally
talk
the tech
dial-up
guy.
internet, Jay?
Dial-up internet?
Or the first cell phone you ever had? How big was it?
About that big.
What year was that?
Sure.
You know, people pay more money for a bigger something.
Dude,
nowadays for a bigger screen.
I had a cell phone as long as you had a cell phone. I mean, seriously, I had the first one all the way through, and I still don't know how to use the damn thing. Pagers. I had 3 pagers all the time.
I bet you could run a depth finder decent. Though.
Well, I'm pretty.
Lowrance X85 or
No.
like a Vexlar. Didn't you guys use the old flashers back in the day?
We had to. That's all we had.
No shit.
Yeah. Flashers. That's how we started.
I know guys who swear by those who are still running them.
The green box.
Yeah. Willie doesn't know what a flasher is, though.
You don't know what a green box is.
Green boxes they've got some, like, character to them.
Yeah.
Like, those are...
Green box, it isn't what you keep your reefer in.
What's a green box?
Green box is the old Lowrance flasher, the original.
Oh, okay.
It was in a green box.
Big green box
Yeah.
kind of deal.
I had a Cytex paper graph. To all you heard all day long.
What's a paper graph?
It's
Like the graph paper? Like that we used in middle schools?
like
the
a
lines and shit.
yeah, like you would have in your hook up
I
to your
feel
heart.
like he's
That's
talking
what it
about
looked
different
like.
lines.
Okay.
It was pretty cool. It worked. It actually worked really well. But that's what we had.
You have any of your paper left that we could like hang up at the shop, showing like your spots and stuff?
I did have. It's gone though. I think we threw it away.
All right. I've got a scenario that I want us to think through right now.
Uh-oh.
Okay. You got yourself the hottest Demiki hover strolling bait in the world in your hands right here. The Jackal Revoltage Drift Fry 3-inch. And you get a unlimited supply of these baits and the correct jig heads to throw this bait on, only exclusively, carried at Waypoint Angler Supply. But you only get a Lowrance green box on the front of your boat.
I'm in.
How many bass anglers catch a big limit on the Jackal Revoltage Drift Fry that day? I got a better question. How many bass anglers throw the Jackal Revoltage Drift Fry 3-inch Demiki deal for more than a fucking 20 minutes?
Not me.
Not enough of them.
Anyone?
Not enough.
No one.
Not enough of them.
So
They will be.
This whole tech conversation, nobody threw this crap before LiveScope came out.
Nobody.
Nobody threw this crap.
No. Now
This isn't crap. This is a minnow. But we were talking about poop earlier, and
You can see the confusion.
like, what's happened to bass fishing? They're still eating a big old swim bait, so it hasn't changed. Like, well, they never used to eat a big old swim bait because no one ever used to throw a big old swim bait. But turns out, like, we're learning all these things, right? They still eat a fucking football jig, though, right, Jay?
all day.
Still eat a frog, right, Ross?
They do eat that.
Last time I
You
checked.
got one on a frog?
Last time I checked. So, I guess you guys are in it. You guys own a tackle shop. What? I want to hear your guys' opinion on this because guess what? You give me all the Revoltage Drift Fry 3-inch magic baits in the world with a Lowrance green box. And I'm throwing that sucker for 20 minutes. And oops, we Christian pondering this 3 and out.
What a great run.
That wasn't a Vikings diss. He just was a poor quarterback. And Ross would agree with me.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
Willie, what you got?
I mean, I think a lot of fishing nowadays, it's changing. Whether some people like it or not, I think the way that we're targeting these fish that maybe some of us have known about for years, some of us haven't. I think that the whole live scope forward-facing sonar thing is changing. It's just changing the game. It's changing how some of these fish are positioning themselves, and
it's making a game.
This podcast is brought to you by my brother from another mother, my tournament partner, and the best rod builder north of the equator that still has 20/20 vision, Veselka Fishing and Customs, specializing in custom fishing rods. Your custom rod, the way you want it, because it has to be your rod. However, he has a wide variety to choose from, including his all-new for 2023 custom chicken rod. If you throw the big fluff, the hairy Gary, the rotisserie dissery, the half-ounce Palomalu, the 3/4-ounce rooster biscuit, the lightener looking like D. Snyder, you're going to want to be throwing the Veselka Fishing Chicken Special Big Hair Jig Rod. Mr. Veselka spent a lot of time on this rod, and it has the perfect action to throw, hook, and land those fish that you maybe pulled the bait out from because the rod was too stiff, or had them spit it because your rod didn't have the backbone. Well, the new Chicken Special from Veselka Fishing and Customs has worked to solve both of those issues, along with superior balance and quality components. So head on over to his website, veselkafishing.com. That's VOCELKA fishing.com. Pick this rod up before it's too late, because up here in the North Country, they about to be schooling.
Hey guys, Gaff here with Waypoint Angler Supply. I'm hanging out here at our JDM wall. We got a large variety of product. Hey guys, Gaff here with Waypoint Angler Supply. I'm just out here hanging out at our JDM wall with my buddy Teal, and we're going over some JDM product. We've got ourselves some Fish Arrow, some Duo Realis, Depths, and G-Crack, all for you. But it's not just the tackle that we've got. We've got ourselves some reels, some rods, all from Japan, some BFS stuff, all the good stuff that you're looking for from Japan that you can't find anywhere else. So swing on into Waypoint Angler Supply and get yourself stocked up.
We'll see you here at Waypoint Angler Supply.
.com? .com.
A video game. That's what it really is.
Yeah, it really. Yep, you're right.
You ever play Galaga, Willie? That was Jay's game, right? It was Galaga, right?
Space Invaders.
Space Invaders.
Pac-Man.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think these baits that once were never even thought of using back in the green box days are now, you can see them good on your screen. You can see these fish out in no man's land being big, eating stuff like that, and then it becomes a video game. And I mean, there's big ones everywhere, but
now you're fishing the fish and not the territory.
So how this thing came about, what you're saying, Willie, is they took every lure that we've been throwing for the last, 30, 40 years.
30 years, yeah.
And they probably threw all of them right on that video game. Right, Willie? And they're like, didn't eat a spinnerbait. Didn't eat a buzzbait. It didn't eat a wacky Senko. It didn't eat a swim jig. It didn't eat a swim bait. It didn't eat a crankbait. It didn't eat my poop. It didn't eat a Ned rig. It didn't eat this. Didn't eat that. I need to invent something that it'll eat. Or wait, there's a gulp smelt minnow in the back of my car, and I'm Canadian, and maybe I honestly, okay,
You put the
I didn't know I was going there, but we're going there, and I think the Canadians deserve more credit.
Oh, 100%. I mean, those guys like Gussie and all those, even the guys way before him. I mean, just hanging the jig over the. I mean, that's what they're.
And I know we don't want to give them that credit because they have a queen and all this stuff.
If we're gonna give anybody else some credit, though, I'm gonna say something that most people aren't gonna pay attention to. Tennessee, Kentucky, Eastern Tennessee, Eastern Kentucky. Them boys know how to catch them with the forward-facing sonar, like in a special way, like probably as well or better than some of them Canadian boys because they chase spotted bass so much.
I agree with you. They have shad year-round.
Yep.
However, them Canadians were catching them on that technique with a fucking green box bud, and you know it.
That's true. I give them that.
It was below the boat.
Yeah, no,
granted.
It was
vertical.
Old school vertical.
Yeah.
But I think them Kentucky boys have been doing a lot of the same.
They're by far some of the best forward, like they have to be. They have shad. Yep. They have everything you want in that style of fishing. However, I do think they still, or I think this technique that we're talking about with the little minnow and the little jig head and the forward-facing sonar, I think the Canadians deserve a lot of credit for that. Now, what I'm curious about is, like, leave it to the aliens or the folks from Japan, whatever you want to believe. They take it to another level, right?
That's
like now this is like, now we're talking about like the spinnerbait, but a Demiki rig where everybody's got a variation of it and it does a little something different in the water. But we were talking about electronics, and Ross, you were telling me earlier that like when anybody has an issue with their live scope or any sort of live scope question,
we send them to Willy.
And for some godforsaken reason, Willy's smart. And, like, he's the guy.
Willy's the man.
He's a tech man.
Buddy.
He's our in-house live scope expert.
In-house live scope expert, ladies and gentlemen.
He's almost
Willy.
Canadian.
Oh, yeah.
He goes out on Lake Minnetonka and helps people
dial it in
and show them how to use it.
Is your full name William?
Wilfred.
Yep. Middle name?
Charles.
Mine too.
Hey, there we go.
Yeah. Dude.
Mine?
I knew
no.
I'm a Charles, dude. Willy. Hell yeah. Willie Charles and last name?
Raker Rebeck.
I mean, that sounds like a smart name.
It sounds like a
Willie
actor.
Charles Raker Rebeck.
Sounds like he should be fighting Chuck Norris or something.
Yeah,
in a movie.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I mean, I think that the live
worked for Tesla for 4 or 5 years and took some time off. And sorry, didn't mean to interrupt you, buddy.
No, I think that the forward-facing sonar, I love it. I'm for it.
But it's so boring to watch.
It's boring to watch.
Oh, come on.
If you're not doing it.
When was the last time people complained about hook sets?
Yeah, but when it's shut off, you miss it.
Some of us did really good fishing offshore before everyone knew how to do it, Eric.
Yeah.
You're not wrong.
Better.
Yeah, some of us did really well before everyone else did well.
I was one of them people too.
And that's what
we had to triangulate.
I think me and Jay have had a lot of conversations about this, about before all of the forward facing stuff and how it's changed how you go about a day of fishing now. Offshore especially. Yeah. I mean, just how if it's for the better or for the worse. Personally, I think it's for the better.
Why is that? Like, what's better?
You're actually fishing a target.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You actually see something that you're trying to eat your bait. And then the more they don't eat it, the more you're pissed off. And then you throw something else and they don't eat it. And then you're like, are these even bass? And then you catch a bass. You're like, now it's even worse And now there's 50 of them there. You can't get them to eat nothing.
Now I'm most definitely insane. Like,
yes.
Yeah, that's my feeling. That's how I feel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or you're throwing at these things offshore on a rock hump, and all of a sudden they're schooled up good, looking like bass. You catch one, they're a drum. And then you're like, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
But then you make a couple more casts, then it's a smallmouth, and then you're like, whoa, this is a little bit different.
And that's where the underwater camera comes into play.
Yep.
And I didn't think about this, but you guys really have no excuses because you've got every tool in the tackle box right at your fingertips. So I'm wondering how much you played with the school in terms of you go look at them and like you maybe get one or two to bite, then you head over to back channel, grab a beer, think about it, and grab a few items off the shelf, go back out there,
Try it again.
Like, have you guys messed with any of that?
Yeah,
We mess with everything.
Willie's like, yeah, don't tell my boss, but yeah like.
No. Yeah, we mess around with all of it, but I don't know. It just I think that me personally, I think I'd learn more a day of fishing on a boat with forward-facing sonar than I do without it. And that could be catch, I learn more. I learn how these fish are reacting to this bait. That if I wasn't looking at them, I might have not even known that they were there. But if I'm throwing at them, I see that they're not eating this. When yesterday, different conditions, they're eating it. I know, okay, I got to throw this bait on this type of weather type of thing. There's a lot of different, I don't know. And some days I'm like, wow, this sucks because I'm looking at them. I know they're smallmouth. I know they're not eating. Want to put the boat on the trailer, but you got to throw out something weird, something Japanese. Something that you can only get at Waypoint.
Something gilly.
What? Give me a light bulb moment on live scope with a bait from Waypoint. Like that's, I think everybody would want to hear something like that because we've all had those light bulb moments with smallmouth where it's all of a sudden like.
We do it with largemouth.
Largemouth, pike. I'm just kidding. They eat a fucking wacky rigged hot dog.
Walleye, walleyes, poop.
The biggest thing that I've seen when it was like, wow, like I was doing this wrong the last hour on this giant school was I'd keep it just barely above them, probably 6 inches.
What bait was this?
Two-way.
A two-way.
Yeah,
Raid two-way.
Raid two-way.
Wow.
And
Waypoint.
Just
juice.
Wacky rigged, just barely above them.
Weightless?
Weightless.
Okay.
25 feet of water, weightless.
Huh. Why are you just saying this now? I've been fishing wrong the whole time.
Might need to cut this, but weightless, 25 feet of water.
We've been good this whole time.
It takes like
You just got here, Willie. We ain't
Takes like a half an hour to get to the
minute and
bottom.
a half to get to the bottom.
Wow.
And once it's 10 feet from them, they're already coming up. 10 of them. And if it gets above
We're going
them,
fishing tomorrow, Jay.
this is when they're super
Eric,
pressured.
you're gonna
beat
open.
them up for an hour.
Dude,
I gotta open
Then
tomorrow.
you throw that on a little
Hand me a water.
1/16 weighted wacky, pop it right above them, boom.
do you realize I just fucked them up on a topwater, then went back the next day and didn't fuck them up? Like you're saying that two-way? Like get you
Or
some
the
of that two-way?
That two-way.
That young two-way?
That two-way.
Are you catching them good on the Kermushi?
Two-way Tagovailoa?
Have you heard of the Kermushi? The Depths Kermushi?
We just told him about it.
Yes, and I want
wait, the depth one?
I feel like that depth
That
conversion
littlest thing,
on a calm day on a Vasilka hair jig rod, just little cicada bug just
They just
buzzing
come
on
up and-
top, bud.
Can I go back to
They
the
slurp
front-facing sonar for a second?
Yes, Jay,
You know,
absolutely.
One of the cool. What's changed fishing for me is more than anything is mapping, chips.
Yeah.
We old school, dude. We found everything with a flasher. The color had to change to find out the hard bottom, the soft bottom. We used a tape measure. Clank it, hit the bottom. There's the rocks. It was that crazy. A piece of lead on a string. But now you throw a map chip in there and everybody's got it. That kind of gets me. But the front-facing sonar, the coolest thing I've had with that thing is when you throw a jig out there and you see there's fish there and you throw a jig on it, and this fish comes up like this and comes down and it pins that thing to the bottom. That is probably one of the coolest things besides setting one up on a frog.
Better than porn?
Yeah, actually, I think so.
I agree. I'd rather watch a live scope.
Oh man, when they do what you want them to do, it's pretty freaking cool.
You guys should start selling lube.
Yeah.
Might sell some.
The chain of live scope knowledge that we have here. Wilfred taught Jay how to dial his in, and Jay taught me how to dial mine in. So that was kind of cool.
Wilfred.
It's cool.
And
what are you doing tomorrow, Wilfred? You want to go bass fishing?
No, it's crazy what this has done, and I mean, big controversy in the industry, but I'm all for it. I think it's made it better.
I mean, is it really wrong? No. I mean, if it was wrong, it'd all be wrong.
Still got to catch them, Jay.
Still got to catch them.
And that's exactly it. Like, you can have it. Everybody has it nowadays, it seems like.
But it is amazing how many people come in the store and going, what is this front-facing sonar all about? A lot of people have no clue. And we explain it to them, and they're like, oh, I got to have that. Next thing you know, it's on their boat.
It's either that or they tell you it's cheating.
They do say it.
But
you know what?
And then you get mad at them, kind of.
Yeah.
Well, you guys have a Randy Blockett section, right?
You know what's cheating?
You know what?
Frogs and DTs.
If you don't want to fish with forward-facing sonar, fine. We sell the products that you can catch them without it. Hell, I've caught plenty of bass without forward-facing sonar. But if you want to get dialed in on the forward-facing sonar, we got the staff and the products to do it. So come in and get it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, like...
People can't talk about cheating. I know so many guys that go fish smallmouth with leeches on beds. That's cheating to me.
Yeah.
Catching smallmouth off a bed, period.
That's just barbaric, in my opinion. Like,
I mean,
that's
that's cheating.
Yeah. Some Game of Thrones barbarianness.
So there's many different versions of cheating.
I want to know how you dial this fucking live scope in. Like Willy. 69% contrast? 100 feet out?
Clarity.
Okay. You run the amber, the satin steel? 120. 120.
Really?
Yeah. I'm 100. As far as I can carry.
If I'm in weeds, 120 if I'm fishing boulders. Or if I'm in weeds, 100. If I'm fishing boulders, 120.
You fuck with perspective?
Yeah, it sucks.
No.
Sorry.
I think
It's good.
Sorry, it is.
It can be good.
I don't fish that
If
shallow.
you're Noah Schultz, you can win a boat with it.
Yeah, I haven't messed around with it enough as much as I should, but I think it's, from the people who I've talked to who are dialed with it, it's good.
So forward then
All
is your deal.
Yeah.
Forward with a 360.
Got it.
Pretty much.
So how do you get the picture good? What adjustments does a guy like?
Let's
say this guy has a live scope and he's like, my picture, I can see him, but
just to be honest, to make it easy, every head unit is different. Every Garmin head unit, every setting is different.
The wiring's different too.
It can be, but
Yeah.
that's not really it though. It's just settings, and every unit is different. Like his is way different than mine.
Units are different.
Yeah.
What update if they've been updating them.
What processor you have in that unit? Some are really good, some are not so good. So that's really where it boils down, is what unit you got for the settings.
Yeah, like mine and his are
totally different.
Then you go into like a 106 or something, or the 86 series. Those are like crystal clear once you dial them in.
Yeah,
like those are
mine. I have a 1022, and you got to dial it a little bit. You got to tweak it a little more.
Well, while I'm holding the baits, you guys heard about Fukujita and that saltwater transducer he's running, right?
Yeah.
That looks out. That supposedly looks out like 300 feet or something.
Do you want to hear? You want to hear something that? Yeah, I'll tell you. So,
I'll listen.
You buy this saltwater deucer and put it on your boat. You will see everything a little clearer, a little farther. And if there's anybody with a 34 transducer, Garmin 34, you will wreck their deucer so bad they can't read their unit from the power coming off that salt water.
Really?
I've heard that from multiple people. So I can pull up on you and you won't be able to see anything.
So you can. Is that temporary or permanent?
If you're next to me, you won't see anything until you're gone.
Okay.
It's like a cop jammer.
Yeah.
Oh.
So I know guys that actually have it on their boat.
Sounds like an advantage to me.
Yeah.
Wait, so do you think
So anyways, during Team Chill next year,
no, but like, do you, like low key, do you think, and I don't know Fukujita from Adam, besides he's a hell of an angler, but do you think he's like, if he gets close to somebody, he's like, sorry?
That might be why he has 5 units on his boat. Doesn't he have 5
he's got 5 transducers. He's
Right.
got 3 off the front to see
2 off
what's
the
in
back.
front of him and off to the wide angles, and then he's got 2 that are mounted off the back, like live side scan.
Yeah.
Yeah, Willard was talking about that,
Yeah.
and he knows what to do with 5 transducers. Aaron Teal, I'm still learning 1 transducer. I'm still learning my 1 transducer.
I'm going back to the green box.
Yeah.
I like it, dude. I need to.
Man.
So Willie, every unit's different, and you just go. You go on a
Units,
date with the unit.
the
You go on a date,
updates.
take it to dinner, and you figure it out.
Pretty much. And I mean, the water clarity, there's so many different things that, like, I'm changing mine lake to lake, day by day. If I'm on Tonka on the clear side, going to the dirty side, like, I'm changing some settings to dial it in.
Yeah.
Because
It's not much,
it's not,
but it's enough.
yeah.
So, like, what is distorted, or what are you dialing in? Like, because I've noticed that based on different depth settings or whatever, like, you'll get a little pixel, or you'll get a little this or that. Like, are you just sharpening that picture, basically?
Yeah, just making it a little bit more crispy. The gain and the limit are gain's the biggest, but like limit I'll mess with sometimes when I'm really in like some teal, like turquoise type water.
What do you think the main goal is on a front-facing sonar? What's more important than anything on that sonar to you? Then I'll tell you what I think mine is.
Like getting out of it?
No, yeah, what are you getting out of it? What's more important? When you're looking at that screen, what is the number one thing you're trying to see?
I would say Jay would say his lure.
100%.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. See,
I want to know what my lure's doing, how it's falling, how fast it's falling, how high I'm bouncing it off the bottom.
Interesting.
Make sure he weighted his DT correctly.
Damn straight.
I'm the number one. That's hard, but I mean, I think the biggest thing that I look at, like at least smallmouth fishing, is how did they react to that bait? Because if they're coming up, I mean,
but you still got to see the bait.
Oh yeah. So that's probably number one. But if you can't see the bait and you see them come out, yeah, I guess that would be number one. But I mean, seeing how they react, if they're coming up to it, following it down, you don't feel that tick on the end of your line, or you see them skirting,
Something's wrong.
Something, I got to change something.
You're right.
See him skirting.
Yeah.
Skirting. I think a lot of fish are getting really sensitive to the front-facing sonar too, because on Tonka now, I got a couple spots that are pretty stacked up with fish at the right time of the day, and lately, you'll come in and drop that sonar in the water, and you watch them just swim straight out. They just swim away. Sure. Yeah. Even the gills will spread out.
Dave, our walleye guy, said that the walleyes on Mille Lacs will do that when he turns his live on too.
Yep.
It's just gone.
Yeah.
As soon as they hear it, they're just gone.
That's crazy to me.
Yeah,
and that to me, that tells me it's a little fragile. But I talk to like an Easton Fothergill, and he'll tell me like there's only one place he's seen the live scope definitely spook them, and that was Hartwell. Other than that, he thinks it's the boat that spooks him more than the live scope. And I'm not here having an opinion on that. I just think it's interesting because I'm more on the side of like, I feel like that noise messes with them a little bit, but I guess Willie thinks it's the Best thing since sliced bread and Willie Nelson. So, Willie, what's your thoughts on that?
I think the pinging isn't anything crazier than any of your other deucers that are pinging.
Except you can face it forward
right at
100. Yeah. 120 feet.
I've seen it
at them.
Yeah, I've seen it on Tonka where you're pushing them.
Right.
The school just keeps on.
Yeah, just staying up, way out.
And I've heard it from the guy, from the walleye dudes up on Leech. Like, they're finding the school, they're facing it the opposite way.
Yep.
And now they know where they're at.
You see your 2 fish laying on the bottom, and then you turn your deucer and face another direction because you know they're at 20 feet right here.
Well, I questioned that Sunday, even topwater fishing shallow. I was messing with that perspective mode, and it was looking out 60 feet. And I guess I don't know if I have it set to 60 feet, if that beam's still shooting out as far as it can fly, or if that beam's like limited at that point, or if it's just the screen.
Well, your beam's completely not different now. Now it's a piece of pie.
Right. But I was raptored down.
Yep.
And I noticed, it seemed to happen more at the end of my cast than halfway back, which I was raptored down there for 2 hours. So it surprised me that it was still that far away. And I guess the only thing I could maybe think of is my perspective was casting a beam out, and I was hucking a big old topwater out as far as I could, and that was probably a little something to do with it, but maybe not. I don't know, but I questioned it.
I know that the pinging, they say, isn't as heavy, but I mean, I've seen it. When you take it out of the water and hear it, or just even in the water on a calm day, you can hear that sucker.
Yeah, it's amazing how many fish will drop right down under your boat though too, and sit there all the time. I catch a lot of bass 2 feet behind the trolling motor, behind the boat.
Well, it's weird. Like, to me, it's kind of like guns, right? So to me, live scope is like the AR-15. Like, you can hit something far away with some power.
Mm-hmm.
But a 9mm.
Yeah.
I mean, that's 2D sonar versus like live scope. In my head, as far as the ballistics of the deucer. But I don't know. It's crazy, man. And there's so many people just absolutely like letting their panties just knot up over this issue, right? And I'm just like, tell me what the rules are, and I'm fishing this tournament. You know what I mean? Like, that's where I'm at with all this. Yeah. But I guess it'll be interesting to see.
You still got to catch them.
You still got to catch them. Yeah. But it would suck, Jay, if like going out and catching 3 bass a day was a good day. Like, nobody wants to see that, right? Like, as a tackle store owner, as a bass fisherman, as a future bass fisherman, as a past bass fisherman, nobody wants to see that, because, I mean, and I guess that's where I do question it a little bit, but the fact that the fish are always changing and adapting, to me, tells me I think we'll be okay. It's just they might get really hard to catch, and I can't imagine a bass smarter than it already is. Or as dumb as it already is, depending on the day.
We give bass a lot of credit for being smart.
Well, a lot. Your live scope probably played a big part in that. Like, think about, we didn't know how smart these bass were until live scope happened. We've never seen more fish swim away from our lures till live scope came out. The bass were pretty dumb until live scope came out, but we didn't know how smart they were. Or maybe it's all instinctual and it's strictly an instinct deal. That to me is what makes them seem really smart, right?
I can tell you, before I had front facing sonar, there was many days where I'd get on a hump or whatever and catch 30, 40, 50, 60 bass. Never move the boat. Nowadays with front facing sonar, I'm lucky to catch 3 or 4 off of one spot.
I do agree with that big time, and I think that's been the biggest difference maker. But the guys down south have been talking about that for 7 years. Yeah. Right.
Yeah, I think it's definitely changing how these bass are living, and how they're, some of these spots, like this population of bass that were out in no man's land. Very few people knew really about them. Maybe drive over them on 2D and hang something over them. But now they're getting targeted because they're standing out like blimps.
Yeah.
And I think those, and then those other fish that are on these other pieces of structure are getting pressured heavier. I mean, they can't hide on that, on the forward-facing sonar.
It's amazing to me then the last couple of years, 2-3 years, that how many fish I will find out laying in nothing, out in the sand, no cover, nothing. We just never knew they were there, but they've always been there. Like, I think this coontail's got a lot of fish that don't even go near it, and they just go out and float around or sit out in the mud, because you can go out on a sand flat or even a mud flat and bounce something off the bottom, and all of a sudden the bottom comes alive, and they're all bass. They're just laying there on the bottom, and we never knew that before, ever. Yep. I mean, rocks is a target. So you fish a rock pile. You go out in the sand, you ain't fishing nothing. You're just fishing sand.
Right.
You know, I mean, there's a couple lakes that we've done very well in the last few years, and every fish is laying out in 20 feet of water in the sand. No cover.
You're not the first guy to tell me that, and I guess that to me was a sneaky deal before forward-facing sonar came out. Todd Kelm comes to mind if he's listening. So do you think, so those fish were never targeted. Now they're going to be targeted probably more heavily because, to Willy's point, they're blimps. They're easy to find. The gig's going to be up on that eventually, I would assume. And eventually, I would assume fish in cover, in stuff, is going to come around to be more dominant because you can't see them, right?
That's exactly kind of where I see all this going, is the fish are just, as we're changing with the electronics, they're changing with them.
Well, we're built to survive, right?
Yep.
Just like bass are, right?
Yep.
When it's raining, we either put a fucking rain jacket on or we go inside, right?
Or get wet,
we don't typically try to stay getting wet.
Yeah.
Just like bass don't try to keep getting hooked.
Yeah, exactly.
And keep getting targeted. So what I like about you guys is you're always ahead of the curve. And what you can always know when you walk into your shop is you guys are passionate about the sport. And not only are you going to learn tricks from the early 90s, the late 80s, the mid 80s, the flying lure, weighting a DT, but you're going to learn how to throw poop. You're going to learn how to dial in your forward-facing sonar, throw a big swim bait, learn a new frog technique that you didn't know about before, store your terminal tackle better than you have before. I mean, that's what I personally love about you guys and what you guys do in this conversation tonight. So, Cole, how we doing for time, buddy? You know what? We fucking killed it.
Yeah, it's been really good.
It's been really fun, Jay.
Educational.
Honestly, I really appreciate you guys coming out. And honestly, I say this from the bottom of my heart. For anybody who hasn't visited Waypoint Angler Supply, to me, it's kind of like the new Mecca in Minnesota, and Mecca doesn't need to be as big as Cabela's if there's all fucking junk in it. So let's just remember that. And these boys, they're doing it right. It's the real deal. And I'm just like, this is such a fun conversation. So I appreciate you guys driving out, and I believe in what you're doing. And if you haven't been to Waypoint Angler Supply yet, are you even a bass fisherman? So this is Teal's Bass Galaxy, boys. Checking in, checking out. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, man. I'll just give you the knuckles.
Love you guys. Thank you.
Thank you.